Hello, my friends. We are back once again. Another Thursday roundtable. I have my family, I have my friends here. Welcome to Frankhampton Leftists. We had Josana in the house. How you doing, Josana?
I'm fine, Nick. How are you? Thank you for having me over. Hi, JB. Hi, CJ. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Hi, everyone in the chat.
We have CJ in the house as well. I'm glad that we have CJ join us on the
Mm-hmm.
Thursday roundtable. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about. We also got JB. What's up, James?
What's up, everybody? Good to see you today.
So we had a great weekend as far as I'm concerned. I have been dropping some clips on the General Strike Summit. We got a lot of content, so I hope you guys are willing to be patient with me on this. I want to hopefully you guys enjoying the clips because I know sometimes it's hard to watch the whole thing with the General Strike Summit. It was
Yeah.
what was it, 36 hours over
Yeah.
the weekend. And I remember when we first started, we was like, "How are we gonna get everything filled out?"
Yeah.
I mean, that's something in my head. Like, y'all can't, 36 hours. What the hell, CJ? What is CJ thinking?
CJ was like, "I have a plan,"
and we didn't have enough slots. Yeah.
I felt bad. I had a lot of people that was like, "Y'all want to be on? Like, I got this to talk about." And I was like, "Y'all want to fish you on?" But oh shit! I was like, hold on. That's why I brought some people on, and I was able to bring some people on when the schedule fell apart a few times because I have people. I was like, "All right, hold on, stand by. I see what I can do." That's why I wanted to make another summit. Just once again, like the General Strike Summit, that was something that I think was very important to do. I was with CJ on this show, and we was talking about it, and the idea just sprung up. And then me and CJ, we are men of action, so we was like, "Fuck it, let's do it."
Let's do it.
And we in strike Vember now. Like we got strike going on everywhere. So this is like the perfect time. Like we had the union leaders, guys, at the event. And I'm still stuck.
Yeah.
I literally still think about this guy. We had the Kellogg, Michigan
Yeah.
union leader.
Trevor Bidelman.
At our summit, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do a General Strike Summit. Let's start education right now." That's why I sent that tweet. I was like, "Guys, we got a labor union leader on our stream calling for a general strike in immediate education because he said he would love the idea of a general strike, but we need to educate people. We need to get the foundation. AK, what do you think we're doing?"
Mm-hmm.
So it was great, man. What's your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I had a blast. It was like it was the whole weekend. I just happened to have lost my job, so I had like the whole weekend free, and I stayed in the panels. And I would be like, on Friday, I was like from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. I stopped for 1 hour. It's like it was intense, and I learned so much. I learned so much more about this country and how things go here. I didn't know a person can get arrested for being part of a strike, and so many differences. I grew so much as an activist and as a leftist. I'm so grateful. My peak moment was JB's disability panel on Sunday.
Man.
I was like, wow, that blew my mind. I was like, look at that. I was so happy. And also the conversation with Tara Reid.
That was
so
good.
excited for
That was a
you.
big one.
Guys, you guys know how excited Josana was to talk to Tara Reid. I was so excited for that panel because she was hiding it, but I knew how excited she was for that conversation. I like this. We had so many good ones. We had like there's so many guests that we had on that like, man, I wish I could have been on that panel. Like that panel was fire, but the conversations we let them go. And you guys know how hard we had. Like Josana voluntarily put so much work over last weekend.
She did.
And then she was at the strikes on Monday, or the action, I should say, on Monday.
Yes.
And then she was pretty much on the panel all day on Sunday. I don't know if you guys realize all day. I was thinking like, yo, Josana, we got something scheduled at like 5. Like, you sure you want to take a break? She's like, no, I'm good. We talking about changing the country. We talking about changing people's lives.
Really changing the world, really.
Yeah.
I mean, because capitalism's all over the world. So we have to, stand in solidarity with workers across the world. We actually talked to Liz Medina about that. She's part of the AFL-CIO, and we were talking to her about having solidarity across nations, So I think that is something that's really deeply important, and I can't wait till we have the next summit like that, so that we can get more people internationally to express solidarity with those workers too.
James, I literally, because me and Josana were just talking about this, so I just sent out a tweet. You guys know me, I just like to shit post on Twitter. So I was like, I'm thinking about doing an international version, and I was like, who's down? Like, I didn't think this shit gonna blow up, bro. I had so many people hit me up on that tweet. That tweet immediately blew up. Some people gave me suggestions. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna drop a few follows. A lot of these people follow me back. I'm like, for real? So y'all down? So, bro, so the next thing we think I'm gonna do is and once again, Josana's idea, the International Coalition Summit, because I said it during the General Strike Summit. I truly believe this, and this is why we started the International Leftist Coalition series. I do not think we're gonna challenge the U.S. empire. I do not believe we're going to dethrone capitalism, because they already control too much power and resources with just the United States proletariat. Like the idea that only we going to take down this entire empire that's supported by European superpowers. Like that doesn't make sense at face value.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you reach out to your Brazilian brothers and sisters? Why wouldn't you reach out to your Venezuelan brothers and sisters? Why wouldn't you reach out to your Sandinistas fighting the U.S. empire that are about to be sanctioned right now? Why wouldn't you do that? And now you know why people they don't want this conversation to happen, because this is why we had union leaders that say, "Oh, let's do a general strike." So we need to build the coalitions because we need to resist late stage capitalism right now. The people are dying. Yeah. We're gonna cover this tomorrow now. And these stories are always great education, you know, when people realize how our court system works, right? But what I've been telling you, like, why you guys think I got my politics? Like, does the left think we're gonna win in this white supremacist court system and this law enforcement system? We're not. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate people, and those summits are really good because once again, I want to learn more about what's going, like what the U.S. empire is doing in South America and Central America. That's why I want to talk to Josana. I was talking to the indigenous activists in Brazil, like Claudia, for example, who was telling me how the genocide that Bolsonaro is carrying out in Brazil, that backed by the United States and the global United States, the European allies as well, right? Because they've been downplaying the genocide claims. They've been saying, no, they're not genocide. Bolsonaro sucks, but yeah, they ain't genocide. So they working on behalf of the neoliberal regime there. They said to me, and I'm like, what? They said things right now for indigenous Brazilians is worse than it's ever been in the last 500 years.
Wow.
What? I didn't know that. Do you guys know that? I didn't know that. So again, as a black leftist, I tell people that income inequality, the financial situation for Black America is worse than it was in the height of the Jim Crow era. And that's our job to educate people about that, because people don't know about that. So our community is under siege. We got indigenous communities that are under siege. We got Palestinians that are under siege. You guys see the pattern? You guys see where I'm going with this? You got the Nicaraguans that are being sanctioned. We got the Iranians that are being sanctioned. We got the Middle East being occupied by the U.S. empire. And you guys think we can do it alone? Like, let's only focus on this and this. That doesn't make sense.
No. You know what's funny?
Go ahead.
But you know what's fun? Okay, the nerd in me's coming out again. Sorry, but in that last part, spoiler alert, in Avengers Endgame, when the whole portal scene, when he was like, Cap, on your left, and everybody started coming out, it's like you can look at American leftists, then you have leftists from the global south, leftists all in different places in Africa and Europe. We all have to come together because capitalism is like Thanos. You know, and just, you know, one fell swoop, it can wipe us all out. And it has been wiping us out. So we have to look at it in a way where this has to be done in a way of solidarity, because solidarity literally means our life.
Absolutely. And I mean, can't none of what anyone has said I disagree with, and I absolutely agree with. One of the things, Nick, when we're talking about the General Strike Summit, one of the things that stood out to me, you mentioned it already, was the union participation. Because that was, when we were planning this general strike, that was the naysayers' biggest thing they kept saying. Unions, you guys don't have any unions. And then we start introducing union people, and then it's nothing. Oh, she's nobody when we introduce the director of the AFL-CIO of Iran. Oh, she's a low level, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then Rome goes out and get Kellogg. Then Kamali goes out and get the nurses. And not only Kellogg, but he gets the president. And that's this clip I'm going to share with you right here. This is one of the clips the Kellogg president, Trevor Bidelman, coming on to me is one of the more pivotal things that happened this weekend. And his support for Medicare for All and his support for just a general strike in general does a lot. And I think this summit has put us on many people's radar. And in particular, because of Trevor Bidelman being on there and the things that he said, like an actual union person on the picket lines right now. So I do want to just play the short clip of him, if nobody minds, just to give you a little bit of taste for those that didn't watch it of why I thought this was so important.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Trevor Bidelman. I'm the president and business agent of BCTGM Local 3G. We're currently the people that are on strike against the Kellogg Company.
Direct action is something that can be incredibly effective. I think that we need to have the right resources set up before we go into doing that. And you're a part of the Kellogg strike. And for people who don't know, can you please explain to everyone why are workers on strike at Kellogg's right now?
Well, it's kind of similar to what you were speaking about as far as the healthcare piece, right? The company has been insisting upon a two-tier wage and benefited and pension system, and a lot of that is around the healthcare piece of it. And if you really look at, unfortunately, organized labor the last 20 to 30 years, we have not fought for the future at all. We have compromised to avoid fights, and that compromise always comes at the future workforce. Either the junior workforce or the future workforce. And I've been a part of this now for 15 years. I've tried educating people and explaining to people what this race to the bottom is. And if we don't do something about it to stop it, we're only a couple generations away from being a third world country. Case in point, earlier today, I was reading on Facebook and they were talking about retirement healthcare. And a gentleman put on there that they didn't even know that employees had something like that, like anywhere. And really, when you put that in perspective, if we don't do what we can do to keep fighting for the healthcare to be paid for by the employer, 20 years from now, people aren't even going to know that employers paid for healthcare in the first place, because it's just going to be totally unheard of. So again, I have not been a huge part of the marches for Medicare for All, but at the same time, I fully support it. I believe it's something that needs to be fixed. If Medicare for All was something that was attained, then we wouldn't be fighting with businesses over the amount of healthcare that's paid for, because that would just be something that everybody has. Right. So it would free up different types of things to address with the company, as opposed to fighting over things that are literally sometimes matters of life and death.
Yeah. So that was not just the clip, incredible. but his appearance to me was very, very important, because leftists, and I would say from his perspective, he got to see, wait a minute, there's Black people that want to see a general strike, and then people from our perspectives that said, wait a minute, there's union people that want to do a general strike. Both of us not understanding these other people who we wouldn't consider normally as our comrades in our community. Both sides are saying we need a general strike. So that to me was very eye-opening.
CJ, and one thing I noticed when I was live tweeting this on Twitter, I said we had the union strike leader, and Ron was speaking, and Ron mentioned how he was a communist, and he didn't even flinch
at all.
And one thing, I think that is
I noticed that too.
I think that's newsworthy, because this is people realizing, I don't care what your label is, I don't care what background you are, we're going to join you in order to form this coalition to get stuff done. And I remember that same union strike leader that you showed, he said, I think we need to get people from different backgrounds. Even if you don't agree on all the issues, we need to come together and fight for things that we agree in. And I was like, oh, that's the same thing that I said, and we were smeared as Red, Brown Alliance, right? And we had a union leader literally saying the same thing. Are you guys going to smear him Or you gotta smear the union leader that's Red Brown Alliance, or you gotta smear him as some sort of secret Republican for saying the exact same thing that we always have been saying. So the fact that we say stuff like, "Oh, you gotta be okay with working with conservatives in order to get stuff done," and then we get smeared by the boutique left, that shows you that the boutique left never have conversation with these workers, because that's what the workers want.
That's what the workers want.
So if they form a coalition because they want my family to have health care, if we form a coalition because we want to end the war on drugs, for example, how can I like have the hatred for this person and call him anti-black? How can I call him racist if they are willing to help me get my family health care? And they want to help me increase my wages.
Right.
So people always say, "Oh, you can't talk about race, it's about class." Class is race.
Right.
Guys, watch the International Leftist Coalition. Read Dr. Kareem Batesh.
Right.
Class is race. I am
It's
tired
hard,
of people
Nick.
who do
It's
not
hard.
read theory. Like, you motherfuckers don't read shit, and then you guys always want to reduce to class or race. Read a fucking book.
What
Class
they only
is
read
race.
certain people over and over. They read the same people over and over. But this is something that's hard for our white counterparts and just white American in general to understand that class and race is one and the same, especially for black people. Look at it this way, and I'm going to pass it to you, Josana. Look at it this way. Black is just the name of the category of our class. That's a better way of looking at it. So our class is black. That's just the name. Just like the name of a class is lower class or middle class. It's just the name, and that's all.
And why
so black is our category.
I'm gonna get Josana in here. Actually, go ahead, Josana.
I was thinking like two things, because this thought I have in my mind since the summit. The general strike is a strike that's general, because it's a strike for all the people, not only the workers, because there are people that cannot work that also want to strike. Is a strike on the system that obliges us to live a life that no human being should be living. So the general strike is a strike that all of us, we are striking against the system that enslaves us. And if you are white and you feel attacked every time you hear the term white supremacist or class and race, and you're feeling like uncomfortable, good. Because the revolution will only come the day that you are uncomfortable. Because change comes from discomfort. Change can only come if I feel uncomfortable here. Oh, I need to move out of this space. Right. Change only comes from discomfort. So if you're feeling attacked and uncomfortable, look inside yourself. You probably have the roots of the problem in you. And in the process of bringing change, you change yourself. Then you can reflect the change outside of you, the world you want to see outside of you. Otherwise, we're going to do the revolution. When we get there, you're going to get the power and impose your dictatorship. And we need to break that pattern as human beings. To be able to see a new world, we need to break out patterns. And it's only by looking inside. So use the discomfort that you're feeling, the attack that you're feeling, to look inside and seek for the change, the real one.
I want to get JB. JB, you have anything you want to add?
You know, we talk about a lot of people making the comfortable uncomfortable. And there are certain things that we have to do away with, even within ourselves. I know that I possess a privilege as a man, as a cis male, that women will never be able to have in this system because of the way the system is set up. And so I am willing to have these uncomfortable discussions in order to make a more just and equitable world. It's difficult. It's not easy, but it's necessary, right? And, you know, a lot of times, you know, especially in the in regards to the General Strike Summit, we're making it so that there is equality. No, John. Sis is short for sister. That's why I use it. But back to my point.
No, I think because you said you have an advantage as a male. Yeah, I think he misheard you. He thought you said cis and you didn't say cis. So my apologies.
No. Cis as in CIS. Cis as in cisgender.
Right. So yeah. So hopefully that explains. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. Thanks for helping me with that, CJ. But we have to come together. And that part of that coming together means throwing away some deeply entrenched prejudices that we may have. Mm-hmm. I have prejudices that I still have to work on. So, it's part of the human experience that we have to go through, that we have to work through. And so this is one of the reasons why I think, coming together in solidarity, especially during the General Strike Summit, was so important, because we realize that we actually have a lot more in common than we do have in differences.
Now, one thing I want to say, back to what CJ was talking about regarding the union leader joining us. Mm-hmm. And this is an important point I want to make, and I want this to be a learning lesson for everyone. We are a channel that started 6 months ago. We're only 12,000 subscribers. And we had union leaders come on and talk to us because we wanted to have a discussion about general strike. Now, ask yourself, why was they so excited to come speak at our strike summit? Ask yourself that. Now, there's some people that say, oh, why are you guys doing a general strike summit? Oh, you guys live streaming? You guys live streaming? Seriously? Okay. Ask yourself this question. Why was the union leaders so excited to join our live stream to talk about their strike? Just like the union leader said, and just like Fred Hampton himself said, education is key. So this is something I experienced all the time. A lot of these union leaders I didn't have direct contact with. We didn't have direct contact with. They got the whiff of information somewhere in their left sphere that there was a general strike summit coming up. And then among hearing that, they say, oh, we got to reach out. We got to make sure we get on this panel. We got to make sure we spread awareness. You guys think they're doing this because they want clout? Right. Do you guys think the union leader joined FHL to talk about their strike because he wanted to get attention? That he wanted some more likes on his Facebook page or something? No. That alone showed what we were doing was extremely important. Right. And having a union strike leader come on our show where we are citizen journalists and say, I want a general strike. And this is why I tweeted, and that tweet went viral. Why didn't no other blue check liberals tweet out this story? The story being a union leader on strike called for a general strike. That's a headline. Meanwhile, I was the only one tweeting it. And now you guys wonder why they didn't want this to happen? Why do you think they didn't want the general strike summit to happen? Because they didn't want a union leader to be on camera saying that we should unite.
Right.
You guys see where I'm coming from? So I hope the general strike summit was an educational moment for a lot of people. Yeah. For the people that say, oh, you got to be dispowered. You know, the CIA tactic, dispowering activists. Oh my God, these motherfuckers holding a general strike summit. You guys are not going to make change. You guys not going to.
Who does that, Nick? Nick, who does? I got to ask this question. Who does that? Stop feeding those people over there. Like, stop helping that old lady change. Who does that? Who critiques people helping people?
These are the people that are considered serious. These are the blue checks. These are the people giving access to the club. Ben Dixon was one of them. Like one of the people that trying to pew the General Strike Summit. Meanwhile, he's sipping wine with Brooklyn Dad, right? So these are the people that are considered serious in our political discourse. The people who do nothing to platform and help workers. Meanwhile, we are broke black people with fucking extra jobs, barely struggling to make ends meet. We throw an event together, not making a goddamn dime. And we spread massive awareness about general strike. Have people talking about this? Where, like, if we didn't have this summit, how many people be talking about general strike right now?
Nobody. I mean, it'll be some, but not the way it is. Not the way it is.
You talking about actually having union leaders come on? We had literally, like we had Breonna Joy Gray. We had a lot of the big names coming on talking about, yeah, Joe Strike, not a bad idea. We had Lee Kemp on. We had people from the Black Agenda Report. We had people from the Gray Zone. All come on, like, yo, we should, yeah, Joe Strike, not bad.
And we had people who did not get along.
Yeah, people,
and
who
you would never know that. And they came on and for the cause. And that's what I want to say for our leftists, for our comrades. We have to understand we can only do this together. So disagreements about he said this, she said that, this person liked this person, like none of this changes our material condition. And if you let small things divide you, I don't understand why you let small things divide you, but then you go and team up with people who disagree with you with most of the things you believe in. You get what I'm saying? You let things like, you know, personalities divide you, but then you turn around and go vote for the Democratic Party. That to me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Josana, JB. There's so many things I can put on that, because once again, the people, it seems like their job is to dispower people who challenge the system. Like they want.
It's just that Miss Jean asked the question, but after JB, you answer, because I also don't know the answer for that.
Go ahead, JB.
Look, this is going to sound wrong, and I'm sorry, but everybody's looking for a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, every single time you see the left actually come together, it's behind someone. That's what it is. And the thing is that because we're not behind a particular leader, now you have a lot of people on the left, which is kind of a good and kind of a bad thing. It's kind of one of these dichotomies. It's kind of wild. We are typically united behind a person, but then at the same time, we are so individualistic in our thinking. Not individualistic, but we tend to have our own mind, that it seems like the slightest disagreement, it's like, okay, you go your way, I'll go mine. And then it's like, wait a minute, but 90% of everything we agree on, you know, and I'm sure the right, they have disagreements on like, a few different things, but they move in unison. And so it's like, why can't we have that on the left? And I think that it's tough because everybody has their lane that they want to be in, but there's some reason we just don't bring all those lanes together. You know what I mean?
People get distracted by divide and conquer. Like, it's actually embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And this is and when you read about other countries, Josana did an amazing job, and I'm grateful for her for blessing me. And I'll talk to Indigenous activists in Brazil, who are, once again, I know I sound like a broken record, but they are a victim of an active genocide from their state. So people who are victims of genocides, right? Do you think they had time for unnecessary drama or beefs? Or do you think they're too busy dividing each other over cultural war disagreements? No, they got more pressing matters at hand, to say the least. It's the people who are comfortable, who they want to make their living making like diss tracks, right? They make their entire political ideology about political personas because they're comfortable. So politics is just a spectator sport to them. Oh my God, you see this beef between this YouTuber and this political commentator? You see what this MSNBC anchor said in response to this Fox News anchor? That's privileged boutique shit. Like, straight up, guys. And it get a lot of clicks because, the people who watch YouTube is all privileged people. Like, you're not seeing people working like 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. You don't see them watching boutique BreadTube YouTube videos. It's not happening. So it's one of the things that we are not allowing that shit to distract us. So whenever I talk about things, I always want to make sure I frame it within the context of the issue to make sure we stay serious, because there are a lot of people who just want to remain unserious.
Hmm.
They just want to be. They just want to continue the divide. But go ahead, CJ. What are you thinking?
You know what I was gonna say? I do want that comment that was just there, the Trump comment. Trump voters are my neighbors, not my enemies. What I want to say about this is that Trump voters have been painted as all being racist instead of people being disaffected of the Democratic Party and going to the Republican Party. There are people that fall into that category. I don't feel that all Trump voters are racist. We have to understand mass media, corporate media, they're the purveyors of, they're the ones who carry out the plans of creating divide and conquer. Yeah. So if Trump voters who are rural voters who need the same things that urban voters want, do you understand? We're both urban whites, people of color, and urban people of color in urban areas versus rural whites, underfunded schools, lack of economic opportunity in both places. This is what I'm saying. We have the same issues, but because we disagree on cultural things, and those cultural things are big things, but this leads me to the other thing I want to talk about, which is coalitions versus teams. We are so conditioned in team, meaning it's all or nothing. And it's because of our duopoly conditions us that way, whereas every other place, they don't see it weird that they teamed up with somebody that they disagree with on a different issue. They don't see that as weird, because in other countries, when you have multiple parties, it's all about coalition building for different topics. That's how it works. But in the United States, it doesn't work that way. So here it's, you don't believe in this, so I can't be on your team. That's how we think. And it's like, you don't believe in with Medicare for all, for example. Somebody said that about libertarians right here. But do libertarians agree with us? Now, let me make a distinction. I'm talking about leftist libertarians, because there are some libertarians who call themselves leftists. I'm not talking about the co-opted libertarians who are conservatives. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about on that spectrum where you have leftists and you have non-authoritarian. I think you, Nick, fell on that spectrum as left and libertarian. Didn't you fall? I think you sent something out.
I was doing a lot of reading. There's always a lot of discussion between whether you like lean more anarchism, left libertarianism. And once I became anti-establishment, I was doing a lot of reading from the anarchist point of view, but I also did a lot of reading of the Black Panthers and Marxist-Leninism. And there's like a lot of like, I almost like manufacture like high school like beef I see between like Marxist-Leninists and anarchists, because they have a few fundamental disagreements. But from my experience communicating with people who consider themselves anarchists and Marxist-Leninists, when you look at the problems of the day, like fighting the U.S. empire, ending capitalism, there's way too many agreements that we have to focus on the very small ideological disagreements between Marxist-Leninism and like libertarian socialism, right? And I see people who want to divide the left, because like they almost like take a flag, like, all right, I'm the anarchist, I'm the libertarian socialist, so I feel like I gotta fight the Marxist-Leninists. Well, I'm like, bro, we're fighting the U.S. empire.
Right. We're all fighting the same people.
Like, what are you guys doing? Like, we got, like, we should, like, we don't have to fucking agree on every single fucking tenet.
Right.
That's the disagreement, right? And I struggle to even put a lot of it in words, but a lot of people like they like, all right, after the revolution, we got to figure out how the society is gonna be situated. How are we gonna do society? We got to figure this out right now. I was like, bro, the U.S. empire is stronger than it's ever been. Like, can we at least actually get a coalition to challenge that first, right? And then we can hash out.
What does coalition mean, though, JB? Go ahead, JB. What does coalition mean?
No, I'm going to give you the definition. Actually, I'm glad you asked. So I looked up the definition of team, and I looked up the definition of coalition. Here we go. So the definition of team in the dictionary is a group of players forming one side in a competitive game or sport. It's also a verb as come together as a team to achieve a common goal.
Mhm.
A coalition is a noun. It says an alliance for combined action, especially a temporary alliance of political parties forming a government or of states.
Let me do Nick's move. Like, come on, like listen to that. A coalition means literally, by that definition, you're not agreeing on everything. You're agreeing on a temporary, specific topic. That's what a coalition. I think people take coalition to mean team. Well, I don't want a coalition with the KKK. Nobody's saying that. But if a KKK member wants Medicare for all, guess who I'm voting with for Medicare for all? The KKK member, because he's voting for Medicare for all too. Nobody's saying I'm going to go, oh, that means I'm saying races are okay. On a specific area of people need health care, racists need health care too. The KKK member is saying, yeah, I'll vote with the black, whatever he wants to call me, for Medicare for all. And this is another thing I want to say about when they're always denying, oh, I don't want to team up with, these races and that races. The racist people are not going to want to team up with you, bro. I'm sorry to break that to you. So you don't have to make that distinction like, oh, I'm not going to team up with this races. And they're not going to want to team up with you. And I'm just so sick and tired of the division and how leftists don't see it as a division tactic. Like they don't see it happen. They think like, no, this is a real thing that we have. No, it's not. This is a division tactic. We are not going to agree on the same things. We're not.
True.
And
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Awesome. So I'm true-spirited. I am Mashakali and Indigenous African. And I saw somebody saying I'm from the Condor. Yes. I just want Earth to be Earth, the being that it is. And I keep on, like, as an observer from the outside, seeing that Americans love to be discussing theory and definitions and names and labels. And in the end of the day, everybody goes back home and just keeps on being a freaking imperialist that doesn't care for the rest of the world. I know I'm being very harsh right now. And I think that when I say the name of my nation before I start talking is because we live in community and we care for each other. As human beings, we need to go back to Earth and be human. Mm-hmm. The basic concept is to be in community and to care for each other because it's been a long time that we forgot about each other. We don't want to look at each other because we don't want to see the mirror. We don't want to care for each other because then we are going to have to reflect all the things that we put in the shadow that we don't want to see, that we don't want to deal with. So it's easier to divide and keep on attacking each other and say names and resources and judging the way the other speaks or the way the other positions themselves. And then we just postpone the change that needs to come. Earth is a being in evolution. It's really self-centered to think that the Earth itself, it's not evolving. It is constantly moving. Yeah. And that sense of we are the Supermans and that we're not affected by it is what is destroying us. Yeah. We need to go back to our roots. We need to respect the being that we're part of. Yeah. Marx, Lenin, they can all kiss my black ass. All the concepts, all the concepts that they thrived on come from the continent of Africa, where all coexist in community. We all had those concepts. Socialism is an African concept. We were already there. It's an indigenous concept. Anarchism is an indigenous concept. Don't need no man to sit and write a theory about it. It's your instinct as a human being that you deny, so then you can create illusions of power and take your ticket to the hamster wheel so you can run and get nowhere. and save coins. Instead of wanting to be human, everybody wants to be Sonic. I remember that game. There was so many coins. And there's so funny, a funny thing that in April 27th, in 1969, Fred Hampton himself said, "Theory is cool, but theory with no practice ain't shit."
And that's what a lot of our white allies, or people who call them their white allies, that's something that needs to be yelled from the top of the building. Stop quoting me your theory. What the fuck have you done? That's what I say. Stop telling me this theory. I'm gonna say this. I could give a fuck about Marxist. I give a fuck at all. Don't care whatsoever. Don't read it. Not gonna read it. But by what the words I say, you might think I've read it because I lived it. I don't have to read that shit.
The thing is, Kwame Ture actually talked about this in good detail, where when he's talking about gatekeepers. Now, let's take the example of gravity, right?
Mm-hmm.
white culture cracks me up. So some white dude was like, "Yo, what goes up must come down." I invented this concept. Are you guys telling me that there wasn't African tribes that didn't see the concept of a rock going up and falling down? We all knew who that was. It was some white dude that wrote that down and put it on paper that wasn't burnt. Because guys, you guys forget, humanity had a great amount of knowledge that was burnt throughout the Crusades as well. So there's so many things that we
on purpose, on purpose, so the connection is never made on purpose.
Yeah,
there's a reason the noses. Why are noses knocked off of the Sphinx? Because because the nose, you can tell by just the nose if the person was from African descent. So it's knocked the nose off, and it's no record. So it's just like, well, we don't know.
Why do you think I bring up the gravity example? And once again, I'm not like knocking you guys for saying that he created the gravity law, even though this is something that was easily observable for all humans, right? So this applies to socialism and communism and anarchism. There was white people that wrote that down in books, but there are people that are living in an anarchist, socialist, community-based way from the dawn of time. Mm-hmm. So there are some people, and this is what a lot of black capitalists would say, which makes no sense, no matter how you think about it. Some black capitalists would say, "Oh, socialism, communism, that's some white boy shit." It's like, bro, our communities have been living this way before the dawn of time. This capitalist society is an artificial creation. Once again, it is the person who observed gravity. Did they create gravity, or did they simply observe it? And that is what happened. That when it comes to people of color, that when it comes to Black Americans, and when it comes to different economic models, despite what they teach you, they had to whip us, they had to kidnap us, and they had to force us through the threat of death to convert to their individualist capitalist society. Before that, we lived in community, communes like America as well, Central America. This whole idea that you have generations moving out, right? You move out at 18, you live on your own. That was capitalism sold you so they can sell more houses, guys. Right. So before that, you had indigenous tribes, you had Central American tribes, you have African tribes who inherently knew, and also this is also the same for Asia, but I don't want to speak that much on cultures I don't know that much about, but I heard the same for when you look at Southwest Asia and East Asia, where you have people that will live in community. You have multiple generations live in the house. Then capitalism brainwashed people like, oh, you got to move out, right? You got to move out and be on your own. You got to be independent, right? That's what they want to sell a whole new set of utilities and a whole new set of houses. Yeah, that's how they brainwash people to believe that. So why I'm telling you guys that humans instinctively lived in an anti-capitalist way for as long as we know. And then the capitalist oligarchs brainwash people into thinking that what we are proposing is somehow anti-human nature, even though this is how human nature grew and thrive under, right? Mm-hmm. I'm rambling. Anyone got any thoughts? We can get some comments too, because I want to talk about Julia Jones, but I always like to riff with you guys in the beginning.
Yeah.
But anything, James?
Just one thing. I just want to thank Josana for that beautiful example.
Let's get some super chats as well after that, James. Okay.
Yeah, sure. And so You're absolutely right. And I try to say this as often as I can. We are all part of each other on this planet. Remember last week when I talked about, actually it was a General Strike Summit, when I discovered my genealogy and I looked at all the places where I'm from. Some parts of me are European. Some parts of me are from Asia. Some parts of me are from Africa. Some parts of me are from the global South and indigenous. So I'm an amalgamation of every different type. So the thing is that we are all united in some way, shape, or form. We are all, I don't care if you come at it from an atheistic perspective or a theistic perspective. We are all connected in some way, shape, or form, even scientifically. So this is one of the beautiful things about us, is that we have to have solidarity with one another. Do some of us have some awful opinions? Yes, but this is what dialogue is for. This is what helping teach others is for. And so, I just want to thank you, Josana, for saying that. And I deeply appreciate your wisdom.
I love
Let's get some
you,
super chats.
JB.
Yeah, Josana always brings a perspective. Like, once again, this is why we wanted to have Fred leftists in the first place. Why we want to have this Black Leftist Network, because I learned a lot just from hearing a different Black perspective. Like, there's some people that live and they're Black and they're in the West Coast, like CJ, that tells me stories that I don't know about as a Black person living in the Midwest. Now, Josana is a Black Zillion immigrant, as I like to call him. She got a lot of perspectives that I didn't know about. So now, if you look at mainstream American groupthink that Joe Biden believes, by the way, that Black people are some sort of monolith. This is what Joe Biden said, by the way. The Black community is not diverse. This is why I hope this network, and that's why I hope we can expose to you guys that we are a wide priority.
Show JB's DNA test to freaking Uncle Joe.
Yeah,
I have an Uncle Joe. I have an uncle. His name is Joe. Right? He's a rapist. He's a racist, and he might be the president one day.
I don't know what is up with liberals still trying to defend Joe Biden for his racism. Like, he haven't shown it over and over. He straight up was like, the Latino community is like very diverse, but the Black people, they're not that diverse. They're not that diverse. Like, bro, we got a wide spectrum of opinion. I've learned this especially ever since I got into the discourse as someone with a platform. Right? I have Black people like, what? We believe this, they believe that. You got people who like anti-immigrant, like the Black nationalists I disagree with. And then once again, there's a wide spectrum. And then, once again, I'm not even touching on the liberalism that infects our community. I'm not even talking about the Black capitalists. There's a wide range of opinions among anti-establishment Black people, let alone once you dive into like the Joyanne Reeves and all this stuff. So, but a lot of people think there's not no that, like, if you have one Black person, one Black leftist, one Black commentator, you have them speak, invite Dr. Cornel West on, Brandon Gray on, have them speak, and you got the ideas of the entire Black community. That was a lot of people are trained to believe. Let's get into some super chats though. What did we miss?
This says white commies obsess over ML because it's the only way to show other white people that they can't reform capitalism into socialism.
So,
and it's got great perspective.
White commies obsess over Marxist-Leninism because it's the only way to show other white people that you can't reform capitalism to socialism, and it's got great perspective on about how reactionaries crush movements. So I think that's a pretty good comment. Because I think what you're trying to say, maybe if I'm not misinterpreting it, is the same reason why I put for the road to abolition, right? So there are a lot of people that say they oppose capitalism, but then they want to replace it with like a nice, gentler version of capitalism. It's like, bro, how many times do you guys got to see these reforms in action until you realize it doesn't work? How many times do we have to save capitalism? Like the reform that FDR put in place was designed to save capitalism. And we said this on this channel as well. When we advocate for a Jones strike, we're not advocating Jones strike to save capitalism.
Not at all.
Our goal is to increase the quality of worker power.
Can I direct Bill Bradley, please? Bill, I'm gonna call you Debbie Downer because you've been annoying and you're Debbie Downer. Sorry, babes. I'm sorry. I said I was gonna.
You don't have to worry. Like,
he's pointing the worker movements in Brazil, saying that they are not bringing up abortion, because in Brazil, abortion is illegal. Before Dilma was taken by force out of the government, the next project in line was a legalized abortion. It's a great trouble in Brazil that abortion is not legal because people die every day. Women are raped and tortured in illegal clinics. So yes, it is a matter to the left and to the workers and to the movements there to make it legal. Also in Argentina, don't erase the global south like that. This is this is an imperialistic behavior. This is an imperialist behavior because you want to look down on the rest of the world. And that's where you have to look down on yourself and be like, do I really need to be like this? Do I really need to do that? Argentina just passed the law. These people stayed 3 months in the streets. The women marching every day. And you are annulling their movement? Not on my watch. Not when I have a voice.
It's funny because we were just talking about this with a lot of Brazilian indigenous activists, and I know Fiorella, she also mentioned this as well when she was talking to Nicaraguans. Like a lot of these people in the global south, they are so tired of the United States leftists, where they go in their own area, not understanding their own situation, and they demand them to run their movement the way we run our movements, despite the fact that we've been extremely ineffective. And this is something that I hear from them all the time. Like these fucking U.S. imperialist leftists think they can come down here and tell us how to run things. And once again, that's not my intention. Because once again, my goal is to form an international leftist coalition so we can destroy the scourge of global capitalism. The same global capitalism that when you use this object right here, you know, this thing that brings us a lot of great conveniences and apps, just know this is a result of child slaves. This thing right here. And as someone who is somewhat complicit with this, as someone who somewhat benefits from this, you know, the child slaves in Congos who they are forced to mine the material that come out and make this phone, it's our obligation to come in community with these people to stop the empire that creates this. There are some people who say they like, I won't give up my iPhone. I'm trying to stop naming myself names. I'm trying to stop from doing that. But I can't help myself. Vosh, I remember Vosh was like, do you guys really want to give up your iPhone for this? I'm like, you guys, and I'm telling you guys, if you ask me, because I am old enough, well, I remember what his life was like before this motherfucker. This thing right here.
You did? No, I'm just kidding.
If you ask me, would I have this toy, which this is, it's a toy at the end of the day. I got martial arts. I have community. I have real life experiences that I can live my life with. There's some younger people that can't possibly imagine what life would be like without this. Me, personally, if you ask me if child slavery would end in the Congo, if child slavery would end in Southwest Asia, Southeast Asia, to give this up, I'm not even flinching. I'm tossing it. You guys have been brainwashed by capitalism to thinking that this motherfucker is making your life better. This thing is not making your life better at all. This thing is giving you some conveniences that you're enjoying. But I'd rather...
The thing is giving the CIA your address. I didn't say that. Snowden said that. He didn't want to talk to Glenn unless Glenn put his phone inside the freezer. You guys know that? Like, I remember that? Like, Glenn wrote it. He couldn't talk.
I'd rather live in a society that benefits from the love and community of knowing that we don't have this crushing sin upon us. If you guys want to know why our society is so toxic, why people are so toxic with each other, there is this toxic cloud that hangs over our society where everyone knows that our society is inherently unjust, right? If we had a just society, that evil sin, that wave, that cloud could be lifted, and we can truly come to community with each other because we are under the understanding that we are all inherently equal. We all have inherently chances to succeed, and we do not have victims of state violence and governments. Now, we have a long way to go for this. This is what activist movements are for. But the people who are straight up like, I'd rather live in a false peace and have my iPhone and have a class that is a subservient class, a two-tier society, so I can have more privileges and freedoms, more cute toys and stuff, materialism. I inherently just don't vibe with that. Like I'm fine without this. Like I'll be fine without the amazing car, right? But this is stuff that people don't understand. Like having a society where people are taken care of, where you know you're not gonna die because you don't have health care, where you know that your neighbor next to you not stressed because they're working 60 hours a week and they're not getting paid shit. Well, the fact, like you guys know, the most stolen item in America is baby diapers and formula. How damning is that of a society?
Yeah, that's why they have to lock it up. That's why they lock it up.
Like a motherfucker. But you guys see what I'm saying? Do you guys want to chime in? Because I know I'm ranting.
Yeah.
But my point is,
imagine that. Think about that. They lock up people that have to steal milk. You think people stealing milk and going to the club? Like, you think they stealing milk and then making like mixed drinks? They stealing baby milk to feed their kids. And you fuckers got the audacity to lock that shit up. It's just, it's terrible just to see how capitalism treats people. And this is something I'm starting to run in more and more every day. The longer I'm a leftist, it just feels like American society, white American culture has been so okay with people living terribly right in their own backyard for hundreds of years. Black people, indigenous people. It's just, I gave to charity, so that washes away my white sins. It's absurd. You just go around, it's people starving. It's just, you don't act like you don't even fucking care. Like there's no, like poor people have no voice. They don't have a TV show for them. They don't have news for them. Nobody makes music for them. It's as if they don't exist. As if they don't exist.
You know, it's funny. I just started reading a book about the French Revolution. And
way, bro. I literally was just watching a documentary on that literally earlier today. Sorry,
nice.
That's a trippy, but go ahead.
Nice.
Go ahead, bro.
We're connected. I told you were a Jedi Master. But anyways, but yeah, so one of the things that it spoke about, if you look at, comparison of the French Revolution, all the things that led to it, and compare it to today and what we're going through,
back.
everything is identical. It's a mirror of each other. And so you look at the debt that is, that they had. I forgot the name of it. There's a certain word they use for charging interest. I forgot. And if anybody in the chat can help me out with that, then you can help me. But it's the same, and then you have, like, for instance, the nobles with their privilege. What's the difference between a noble in, that time in France and looking at somebody like Elon Musk? What is the difference? There is no difference.
There is none.
And so you get to a point, like, for instance, they had to pay taxes just to make their wine, their olive oil. They had to pay taxes on their, on basically just to use these items in order to make something for themselves. And you look at that, and now you look at what's going on today when you just gave the example. Like, why should I have to go to a store and see a can of Similac locked up? That doesn't make sense. And here's the crazy part. Why should we even have to get to a point where we have to lock up Similac? What is it? What is that? Why is that? Because the parents don't have enough. Look, if you start paying parents a living wage and make sure they have all their resources, you wouldn't have to lock up Similac in the first place. But yet here we are. Why are we here? It's because people literally have to steal in order to feed their families. Why are they committing these crimes? Because it's a lack of opportunity, and it's out of desperation. People are desperate now. This is why a lot of us on the left, if we see somebody stealing some diapers or some baby formula, we look in the other way because we understand what's going on. We understand why people are doing this. It's like, look, and pardon me for saying this, but fuck the principle of stealing. If it's going to kill, if it's going to preserve you alive, then go ahead and do it. Because the thing is that I'm going to steal a loaf of bread if I have to in order to keep myself alive. What, you want me to just die? And people are like, well, there's other different avenues you can take. What avenues? They're taking those away too. They don't want us to live. Look at me. I'm disabled. They're taking us away too. They're trying to make sure that we die because we don't create the profit that they want. Mm-hmm. And so, you know what? Just like what happened hundreds of years ago in the French Revolution is going to happen again. There's no doubt about it. It's going to happen again. And, you know, as I continue to read this book, I'm seeing so many parallels. Look, it may not be a traditional guillotine.
We both were watching. I was watching it too. I was watching the French Revolution this morning. Like,
yeah. Hold up. Let me finish this. It may not be a traditional guillotine that takes somebody out, but it will be something that will chop some heads off. Trust and believe that. And the thing is that just like what JFK said, he said, you know, if you know those who prevent a peaceful revolution. A violent revolution will be inevitable. Mm-hmm. Keep saying, let them eat cake. Keep saying it. Guess what?
You know what else they did? Now, once again, guys, I've always been open. Now I'm not authority on anything. Welcome to the Strange Side. But she's like, what am I getting myself into?
Hey guys.
I never claimed I was authority on any topic. So I'm always trying to learn, and I'm in this thing with you guys. Like JB been with me ever since my channel last year, so he knows how much I learned. And one thing I learned, I was reading about the French Revolution, and one thing that the bureaucrats, the oligarchy was doing, the ruling class, what they was doing. They had the while the poor people were starving, they had these big parties and these big shows that shows their wealth and their status. What does that remind you of? Remember Barack Obama birthday bash? Ooh. Remember the Met Gala stunts that was going on, right? So what do you see our capitalist class do? What are they doing? They were doing the same thing that the ruling class and the French did. They throwing these extravagant parties. Like, even though we're dying, we got millions of people about to go homeless. They're like, look at my watch. Look at my suit. Stunt, bro. Stunt or die.
Well, Marie Antoinette.
People are like, all right, I'm going to Google Marx real quick.
Well, Marie Antoinette, she lost her head. The reason why Marie Antoinette lost her head, I'm going to go back to you. Sorry, Nick. It's just because this sentence is disgusting. Sorry, Marie Antoinette. She didn't know anything. Was a woman from the elites. She was just hanging out in the castle. And then somebody comes in. The people are outside in the streets. They have nothing to eat. They have no bread. Oh, il mange de brioche. Et pourquoi il mange pas de brioche? She asked the question. Why they don't eat the brioche? Sorry, I sounded a little bit.
So for people that know the French Revolution, right? Like, as far as I know, Marie Antoinette got the short end of the stick, right? Like, because I've been like reading more about it. Like, apparently, like and let me guys know in the comments, guys. Like, once again, I'm not claiming to be expert on this. So Marie Antoinette, you know how she like portrayed as this let them eat cake person? Apparently, she like was actually pretty sympathetic. Unlike the other ruling class elites in France, because most of them could not give a single fuck about the poor people that were starving, right? In the taxes that was being raised. Apparently, Marie, she was opening up like food drives, like she was trying to help feed people. And she came from a foreign land, so she didn't know about French customs. So what she got screwed because she had advisors that was like in France customs, our royalty, we dress extravagant and we show off our wealth. So it wasn't her decision to like, because she was hated, despised by the French people because they would have like parades, and she would have all this like she would look rich as fuck, nice hairdo, like she'd be pretty much like suited up while everyone else was starving. So like, fuck this motherfucker, like who is this Marie? She thinks she's better enough, but she's just following the orders. She's following her advisors because that's what they told her to do, and apparently according to some experts, she didn't really like that lifestyle, like the lifestyle of flaunting your wealth. But the French people were so pissed. She was the like figurehead. So I learned that later. I was like, damn,
there are people that
Let me know if I'm right on that. Like, I think she got screwed at the end of the day because she wasn't as bad, nearby as bad as other people.
There are people that say that the term nouveau riche, which is like the new rich, that there are people that say that she was a bit like that. She was like, it's like, I don't know, a very rich person. Yeah, it's like a very rich person is doing charity. So there are some French people that say that about her.
So I just want to read some chat from some people that I think might know about this. I know Savvy like, what the hell? There wasn't a planned topic, but these roundtables, I like talking to you guys. We shoot the shit a little bit more on these. Hold on, what was it? I was about to read that one. But anyway, let's say it said Marie was framed and was also involved in a jewelry heist accusation. What did the other comment say? I didn't get a chance to read it. But let's see if I can find it. I was about to read it. Where'd it go? But anyway, my point was like apparently she got the short end of the stick from what I've been watching. This person
like innocent.
That's why I think it was funny. JB brought it. I literally watched like probably like 45 minutes this morning because I'm like a nerd, guys. Like I got on YouTube just because I'm a nerd. I like talking about this shit, and I was learning some stuff I didn't know about. This fucking guy who was like, I don't know what's his name, Robespierre. He was like,
Robespierre.
He was like, I'm a pacifist, y'all. And then he fucking killed like 40,000 people. He went crazy, created his code. Like, bro, like when you look at that time, it's probably the craziest time, one of the craziest times in human history. Like all this stuff happened, within like 20 years, guys? In my time on that? Like within 20 years, you got all this craziest stuff that happened. And I was like obsessed watching this stuff for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like he was like cutting people's heads off, like anyone who doubted the revolution, like off with your head. Some advisor was like, "Hey, yo, I think we already established our regime, so I think you should probably chill on like cutting people's heads off." And he was like, "Off of your head too." So it was like this dude went insane with power. So that was a lesson learned. Like this dude started a revolution, and he started off against the death penalty. Like he was a progressive lawyer. He was arguing for abolition of slavery. He was a male abolitionist calling for the right of vote for all men, not women, but that was progressive at the time. So he was hella progressive. He was against the death penalty, and then he became the same person that he ended up fighting against. What lesson does that teach you guys? He was progressive as fuck. He was against the death penalty, and he became the Grim Reaper. He was in lead. He was in charge during the Age of Terror, where people was getting killed, and that's how he started off. But when you get power, that what happens. This is why you gotta read history. They teach you stuff. Sorry, I'm a nerd, guys. I went off.
And JB wants to go. Just want to make a quick point to that. Not just read history, but watch I've been saying that a lot in this stream. Watch the roots of the problem inside yourself, right? Because also the other danger is that right after the French Revolution, who we got right after that? Napoleon Bonaparte. He was a fascist. He was like trying to dominate the whole Europe, and he was born and brought by French Revolution. JB, sorry, I did that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna make a joke, but Nick kept talking, and it just fell apart. It's not gonna go with it, because okay, I might as well say it. Fine. When Nick said that I'm a nerd, I was gonna give the confession that I called Nick Chocolate Thunder on the phone today. So
we're supposed to keep everything else too.
I think that's a good segue to bring Sabrina with the story she covered. I think that's a good segue to bring Sabrina in.
You're right.
So news on, Sabrina, can you update us on the person who was on death row and was said to be executed, and the latest news on that, please?
Yeah. So Julius Jones, he had been in prison for 20 years. He was sentenced to death. And apparently Baker Mayfield, who is a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, last year he wrote a letter asking them to not necessarily release him, but to remove the death penalty, because there were problems with his trial. For one, he had an alibi, and I don't know who was representing him, but it sounds like it was one of those state appointed attorneys. The state will give you one, but they did not reveal the alibi during the trial. His alibi was that he was eating dinner with his parents when that happened. His parents were not allowed to testify during the trial. So there were a lot of things that went wrong. There was another thing that came out that said that he didn't fit the description of the person that was identified. Another man came forward in prison saying that he was the one that did it, that he framed Julius Jones. They wouldn't even take his statement. So all this time he'd been sitting in jail, he said that he was innocent, like all these years. He was scheduled to be executed today. And so last night I did a stream about it. And then this morning I shared a clip of that, and I asked people to call the governor in Oklahoma, Governor Stitt, and ask him to give, I think it's commute. Yeah, to give commute to Julius Jones so that he will not be executed today, because he had a bad trial. Basically, there was a lot of information that was left out. There were some facts not straight. He, like Ahmaud Arbery, had a jury where 11 of the members were white, and Ahmaud Arbery is going through that now. Excuse me, Arbery, not Avery, is going through that now. One of the jurors called him the N-word and said we should take him out back. The police officer that arrested him called him the N-word and said that if he tried to run, he would shoot him. So there were like a lot of racial elements to this as well. So Baker Mayfield got involved, wrote that letter last year, though. And even though he wrote that letter last year, the governor still refused to meet with the family. So the family has been trying to meet with the governor to say, like, can you please remove the death penalty because he didn't have a fair trial, basically, to make a long story short. When I called the governor this morning, I got a message that said, due to an unusual high call volume, we will not be able to take your call at this time. If you leave your number, they'll get back to you. So that was a good sign, because that told me that a lot of people were calling in. The reason why Governor Stitt didn't want to remove it is because Oklahoma is a red state. He's a Republican, and he's basically beholden to his constituents. So he's going to do what they want him to do. Now, what came out, though, recently, I saw this morning, is that even some Republicans wanted him to remove the death penalty for Julius Jones.
Wow.
So it really was the pressure of the people. It was the protests. There were students that did school walkouts yesterday, all the phone calls that were coming in. People really stormed him on Twitter. It was the pressure of the people that put pressure on the governor to do the right thing. Now, Julius Jones, along with this, he still is not going to be able to have parole, and that's not right. But hopefully he will be able to get a new trial and a fair trial the way it's supposed to be. What
is the conviction? I'm sorry. What is the charge? What it was murder of who again, Sabrina? I'm sorry.
His last name's Howell.
But it wasn't like a friend or anybody he knew. Just
I have a story here. You guys.
No,
Okay.
it was a white man. And the thing that really the point that I wanted to drive home to people is that I was sitting there seeing all these people on the left get divided and fight with each other over Kyle Rittenhouse. Meanwhile, nobody was even talking about the fact that an innocent Black man was going to be executed today. Mainstream media pushed Kyle Rittenhouse narrative so much to keep us distracted from something else that was going on that, to be honest with you, mainstream media was not giving attention until today. Now, I did the show about it last night, but everyone that I talked to, none of them knew about this situation. So this is the problem that we have. They put our attention focusing on Kyle Rittenhouse as a distraction to deter us from the things that we really, really need to be paying attention to. And everybody should have known about that story, and they didn't. And not only did mainstream media slack on reporting it, but a lot of the left slacked on reporting it too, because they just didn't know, because mainstream media wasn't talking about it. So we have to pay attention to these things. We can't allow ourselves to get divided over the mainstream media narrative. So I just think that's really important for people. If we're going to fight for something, we all should have been fighting for Julius Jones to have the death penalty removed. That's what we should have been fighting for, not over stupid Kyle Rittenhouse, that fucking shit. Like, I'm sorry, but it kills me. I'm seeing people who are not friends anymore over some guy, some 17-year-old boy that none of us even fucking know.
So Sabby, I purposely disengage in Twitter just so I don't know these things. But what is the disagreement that you're seeing, at least, that leftists are having on this particular trial?
Mainly whether Kyle Rittenhouse is innocent or not. That's the disagreement. Whether it was self-defense. That's the disagreement. And I feel like every year the left, we get into it over something. We're divided over something. If it's not forced vote, it's Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. It's something that divides us, and this is why we don't win. That's why we don't get anywhere and we don't move forward. It's always something
we don't know how to disagree and remain together. Just Americans don't know how to do that, and then it's just magnified when you're talking about politics. We don't know how to disagree and remain civil friends. That's so hard a concept for people to understand. I don't understand if somebody just says, I believe, a leftist. So if you're having if I'm having a conversation with JB and he says, I think Kyle is innocent, does that erase all the other stuff that I know JB is down for? Like, how does that erase that? You get what I'm saying? How does that erase that? As leftists, we have to get out of the concept. We have to get out of this frame of mind, this political duopoly thinking of teams.
Yes.
Of if you're either all or nothing. Like, that is not how we're. This is the reason why we never get anything. We're never going to get anything with that type of thinking. It's simply not enough leftists. So what are you going to do? There's simply not enough. So what are you going to do? That's my question to people who do these things. Now, there's plenty of people on the left, on Twitter in particular, that I don't particularly care for. But if you told me it's time for a general strike, I'll be side by side with that person. Because that person has the same beliefs, has the same policy beliefs. That's what matters. It just doesn't make sense to throw away somebody who agrees with you with 70, 80% of all the other topics. That makes no sense to me, and that's my take.
Yeah, I see. I just, people... Sorry, Josanna, you go first. I'll go after you. Go ahead.
Okay. No, it's just that I want to bring a concept from our ancestors that's called Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I only exist and I only am who I am because of each and every one of you and the people in the chat and the people in the world. So when one of us is hurting, all of us are hurting too. And that is to speak against cancel culture, because it's a very new concept to me. And it sounds like you slamming the door on your mom when you throw in a tantrum. You want to go to your bedroom and slam the door and don't see your mom anymore. Now, be always critical of each and every one of us in this panel, each and every one of us on FHL, and every single person that you watch their podcasts. You have the right to be critical, but based on Ubuntu, instead of canceling people, I have the right to be critical to Bernie, but instead of canceling Bernie, I can understand where is it hurting from. And I'm talking from a personal experience. Yesterday, I was in a Twitter space with a person that got personal with me and was like smearing me all over Twitter. And they had an opinion that I completely agree with. I got a mic and I backed the opinion. That doesn't, like, the fact that we are not friends, we are not. That doesn't change the fact that I agree that we should be hungry in the streets right now. That we should not be here right now. That we should be in the streets. So I back that opinion. I don't need to love you and be your best friend to build together.
So I want to add that I'm glad that you said that, Josana, because I once again I just want to talk about community building ideology. Once again, these are the kind of things that we talk about at Fred Hampton Leftists that you're not going to see anywhere else, right? Anywhere else, you're not going to see this. So when I see people demand me that I can't talk to someone, they hit me up like, "How you can't talk to this person? You got to cut this man off." They may even try and dig up like old receipts and send it to me. Like, "Hey, you see this guy said this person?" Guys, to be honest, you guys sound like cops. You guys sound like cops to me. So my position on cancel culture, and I've talked about this before, I told you guys cancel culture don't exist. Cancel culture is an oligarchy created culture war they created to distract from the fact that people have legitimate criticisms of the ruling class. I repeat, cancel culture is an oligarchy created concept because people had legitimate criticism of the ruling class and their dogs. These people are not used to historically being criticized by the proletariat. So they had to come up with an excuse. Oh my God, I am a host of Fox News, right? I get paid millions of dollars a year. Oh my God, these people are criticizing me. I am being canceled. I'm gonna go on a tour where the media will give me a platform and tell everyone how I'm canceled. Hey, look at me. I got a podcast that got millions of views. I'm canceled though. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. So that's always been my take. So don't fall for it. If the people who fall for it, you guys are being ridiculous. But the reason why cancel culture doesn't exist because it's ridiculous cop-like behavior that is counterproductive. So it shocks me when I see people engage in it. So I'm like, are you guys trying to prove them right? When I come on my show and I tell you guys that cancel culture is not real, you guys like, hold up, Nick. Hold that thought. I'll be right back. Let me prove you wrong real quick. That's some stupid ass shit. So my thing is, I understand there are lines that cannot be crossed, and I am for you drawing those lines in the sand because I do the same thing. I do the same exact thing. But you gotta understand, where I draw the line in the sand is when people say I can't talk to people. Because everyone, like we have said, has a role in this movement. Once again, I explained before, it's not black people's job to preach anti-racism. That's white people's job. But I like to engage racists because that's my job as a citizen journalist. My part in the movement, my role in the movement is to open dialogue. I am the communicator. If you cannot do that, if you are the provider, if you're the mutual aid organizer, hell, if you are the person who's just at the soup kitchen passing out stuff, that's your role, right? My goal as a citizen journalist is to engage. So that's why I draw the line in the sand when people say, "Oh, don't talk to this person. Don't cut off communication here." No, that's not my role. If you want to do that, that's fine. That's not my role. Now, once again, let's talk about theory. I'll pass it to the panel. I am talking about an organization, a movement, a left movement that is leaderless. What does a leaderless movement means? We talk about this all the time as a group. What it means to be a leaderless organization. There's no leader in Fred Hampton Leftists. There's no leader in this group. So what does that mean? That means holding people accountable. Holding people accountable is not cancel culture.
Nope.
That is what you got to do in order to stay in community with each other so you don't get infiltrated. So people criticize left movements for being infiltrated, but all left movements have been infiltrated. The Black Panthers was infiltrated. Famous left-wing movements have been infiltrated in time. And in order to prevent that, you got to hold each other accountable. You got to have conversations. But at the same time, if you are having these conversations with the intent of canceling, you are not accomplishing anything. You got to hold people accountable with love, with community in mind.
Let's go to JB. I just want to say what's up to Kamali. He did join the chat. Okay. What's up, Kamali? Thanks for joining. And just to bring you up to speed, what we're talking about is
I've been watching Julius. The whole time, don't worry.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. So you heard everything. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, back to Sabrina. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I personally this is my advice to people, and I've said this before. I learned a long time ago not to go into these back and forth battles with people on Twitter. And so for me, there's sometimes people reply to me, they try to be mean or whatever. I'm like, psh, whatever. I ignore it. And sometimes that's what you got to do. Sometimes you got to like pick your battles. But the thing is this, it was really frustrating to me to see people that I know have been friends for years just tear each other apart on Twitter. And like, that's it. I'm done with you. Just like that. First of all, like if you're close with that person, that kind of conversation, pick up the phone, call them on the phone. Let's not do this publicly on a social media platform. And that's the thing that really gets me. So it was really disappointing. It was really sad. And so I had to say, we are dividing each other over this Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Shouldn't we also be focusing on the fact that an innocent Black man is about to be executed? And until I mentioned that last night, most people I talked to didn't even know about it because mainstream media had you focusing on Kyle Rittenhouse. That is the problem. And we have to wake up. That was a distraction. The Kyle Rittenhouse thing, I knew it would divide people. I knew it would divide people. But the thing is this, whether you agree, disagree, everybody's going to have their own opinion. But if we keep canceling everybody on the left, we're not going to have nobody left because we're not big. Like CJ said, we are small. I think sometimes we think we're bigger than we are. Majority of people in the country are not left.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, oh, sorry, JB.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sabi did a great job covering that, though, by the way. And that's a giant lesson. Do not allow what the mainstream narrative is pushing to distract you.
Yeah.
And these conversations are important, but do not keep your eye off the ball. So what I hear from Sabi, that's probably easily the best take I've seen out of this entire thing. And I'm glad that she covered that because I was watching her cover that. Yeah. I learned a lot about that while she was covering that. And that's why I hope you guys see the difference here. Like we want to make sure we keep our eye on the ball. We want to make sure we keep our eyes at the root of the problem. But I also want to make sure we get Kamali in here. I know Jatana wants to say something.
That's what I was just about to say, yeah.
Yeah, let's get Kamali here. I already talked enough. So
Kamali, you go to law school. I noticed you take a lot of notes to make sure you hit every point. I've been watching your interviews. Don't think I didn't notice that. I noticed that in your interviews. You're looking down at each point.
Like I just smoked way too much weed over the course of my life, and if I don't write it down, I'll forget by the time it comes around to me. Yes. So no law
I do
school,
the same thing.
A whole lot of weed, that's all.
All right, the floor is yours.
Is slipping,
The floor is yours.
If you want to jump in, feel free, Josana, jump in. I don't want to cut you off or anything like that. No, all I'll say is, one, to the point of like cancel culture, I agree with Nick that I don't believe cancel culture is real. And I think that, in Black, this is something that really rose out of Black spaces and Black culture. And what it really is, something more akin to, I think a name like call out culture or, accountability culture is really what it's about. And it's about holding people accountable. I don't think that people with these massive platforms, they can't be canceled. Let's be real. Like if you're a podcaster with passive income, you can't be canceled. I literally stopped doing my show for the Radical Democracy show. It's been about 5 months since I've posted a single episode of my show. My income revenue has not changed one drop. It's gone up a little bit. So even though I'm not doing content anymore, people haven't stopped contributing their $1, their $3, their $5. That to get somebody to stop that takes a lot to get. You have to do a lot to get somebody to feel passionately enough to go on there to change that $1 a month, that they're sending your way. So the idea that we can cancel people, podcasters in general, but especially people with really massive platforms, I don't think it's possible. You can't cancel Joe Rogan. He's got a multi-million-dollar contract with Spotify. So to hold him accountable for saying some dumb shit or some transphobic shit or whatever it may be, is not to cancel him. It's not real. And I like the Cat Williams, what Cat Williams had to say about it. Like, just tell me one person that we've canceled that you want back. Show me all these people that have been canceled that you want back. It's just about having some accountability, having to grow, evolve, do better than the last generation before us. So on the topic of cancel culture, I definitely don't think what anyone's doing is canceling anyone. We just simply don't have the power to cancel these these people anyways. And it's not wrong, I don't think, to call people out and to speak to that. And then in as far as like the left unity, I think that the one thing that we have to be careful of with left unity is that there is a distinction between authoritarian left and the revolutionary left. There are people that want to still maintain, and on my panel on Sunday where we talked to Dr. Linda Kiki, she talked about this as well. As there's a group of people, a set of people that there's the power from above and below, and there's a certain set of people that simply want to come from below and take over that power above. And you'll notice in that these people will oftentimes hold views that are still compatible with capitalism in many ways, with still holding power over other individuals. And we always should have to be careful of that, because there is a distinction between revolutionary leftists and authoritarian leftists that say, no, we don't want to take power and then go and use that power against other people.
But Kamali, what does the distinction do? So you're saying there is a distinction, but what is the effective, tangible thing that comes out of that difference is what I'm asking.
Absolutely. It's a continuation of things of not just ideas, but structures that if we leave those structures in place, will reproduce the same situations that we're dealing with right now. And there's a set of us that are saying, listen, as revolutionary leftists, we don't want to, if we have all these people put forth their fight towards, what they see as a revolution, and we end up creating the same situations that were already existing in these same areas of people dominating over one another. Still, we keep in with our revolution things like transphobia, homophobia, classism, things like that we still go and manage to reproduce that. There's a lot of people that will end up, we can look at states, and some leftists will still look at a state as a valid, structure, as the idea. And the reality is that states hold power. As a revolutionary leftist, I don't care whether it's a state or a capitalist institution that's holding power over someone. It's still power that is unaccountable power. And especially if we're talking about minoritarian democracies where you got representative democracies, then you end up in the same situation again, where we could have a whole fight out. People will feel like I did something, I changed the world, and then they'll be ready to kick back and go to brunch with all the rest of the liberals, and nothing will have fundamentally changed about the system, about all these underlying power structures. And so we have to be super careful and think, okay, there is
careful in what way? Careful not to be associated, careful not to do what? What is the careful around what issue is what I'm asking?
Yes, careful about who we choose to unite with. It's nobody is saying, no revolutionary leftist says we shouldn't be talking to people on even authoritarian leftists. We shouldn't be talking to them, in trying to bring them along to our side. No revolutionary leftist I've ever spoken to believes that we shouldn't be bringing these people along to our side in some way. But the idea of who we so-called unite with and work with every day and trying to build towards a better future is absolutely something that we have to be careful of, because in a power vacuum, and this is the important part, is that when we do these things, when we have our so-called revolutions, when we fight against the power structures that be, and we bring about new change, a power vacuum is created in that time. And the question is, who stands to take power, to seize power within a power vacuum?
Who's exactly put in that place?
And right now we know, if you look across the not just our country, but the entire world, you see who holds power and who's closer to power. And it's the authoritarian leftists, the people that do still believe in a state, that still do believe in the ability for a state to exist, and the right for nation states and borders and these things to still exist. They are closer to power right now, and in a power vacuum, they stand to take over. And look, there's history here. It's not something that I'm just making up. There were Rosa Luxemburg, who a lot of people will know that name, Rosa Luxemburg. She's the one who gets attributed the quote. It's often said that it's falsely attributed, but the one who gets attributed the quote, if I can't, if I can't dance in your revolution, like I don't want your revolution. Like there's something like that, that gets falsely attributed to her. But she was a a revolutionary leftist. She believed in, at the time where the Bolsheviks were coming to rise, she she went from being a member of the Social Democrats. She started out with the essentially what would be considered a liberal party, to a Social Democrat, to the Communist Party, then to say no, she's breaking off from that, and she was a what we would call either democratic socialist or a anarchist in many ways. And what happened with her is that the SDP at the time, the Social Democratic Party of Germany, I believe it was, of Russia, they when she, it may be Germany, I'm mixing them because she traveled between the two, but I think it's Germany. Yes, it is Germany. So Rosa Luxemburg, she was on the side of the Social Democrats. There's this famous picture of her and a few other people, and they're in coalition. This was coalition building. They were in coalition. Some of them were socialists, were what we call, our former socialists, democratic socialists today. Some of them were Social Democrats, believed in still capitalism, but we'll reform it and we'll have some nice things over it still, and big social safety net. And she was formerly part of that party. She worked with those people in coalition. There's a famous picture of all of them standing together. And then what happened was, after the Social Democratic Party, the SDP of Germany, took power, once they won and they took power, what they did was they then turned around and crushed the revolutionary left movement. They jailed Rosa Luxemburg and then executed her. So the same people that she was in coalition with, that she was in, working alongside, because they had a fundamental split between authoritarian leftism and revolutionary leftism, they were fooled into believing, oh, these are people that we can work with because we agree with 99% of what they think. And ultimately, it led to their deaths. Look up Rosa Luxemburg. It's a great lesson for us to learn as revolutionary leftists, that we may see these people as being a part of our coalition, but the views they have actually bring them a lot closer to the capitalists. And you'll notice that a lot of authoritarian leftists in the places that they hold power, they reproduce capitalist structures. Okay, so check them out. Are they really revolutionary in their own places of power, or are they still reproducing those same capitalist structures?
But Kamali, what does it all mean? That's the still part I'm trying to hear.
Yes.
What does it mean in layman's terms with today's 2021 general strike? What does that mean?
Yes. So, like for me, general strike is something that we can all say. Part of me for supporting a general strike is about agitation, right? Like I want to agitate because I see it as an opportunity to agitate, to get people together, to bring people together in a way, just like mutual aid. I don't think that mutual aid is the ends, but it's a means to an end, right? And so we can use mutual aid like Rome does to then use that to start to bring people over to our political beliefs, right? He says he drops a little bit of literature when the Black Panther Party did the same thing, where they would use their mutual aid efforts and outreach to then bring people over to their side politically, to then try to shape their mind. So when we're doing these kinds of things, Nick says it before. Nick said it in his interview with Brianna Joy Gray. He still looks at like a 15% kind of effort towards electoral politics. We don't completely leave it behind because we see it as an opportunity to radicalize people, right? So you can use these things that might not be revolutionary in and of themselves to still use that opportunity to reach out in your community, to try to radicalize people, to bring them over to our side. But we shouldn't just say, I don't think, and this is my belief, is that, to ignore the difference and to not highlight the difference and recognize it, because we can be in coalition with these people, but we have to continue to recognize the difference, to know the history of what that difference has meant to anarchists.
Well, I don't believe that the example in history you gave fits this. So the example you gave in history, I don't believe that fits this situation. In my opinion, that it's not the same. It's not the same thing. We're not talking about forming a party. And that's why they was able to come in and take part. I know the story you're talking about. That's why they was able to come in and take part, and crush them, because they were part of the same. But that's not what we're talking about when we're talking about being in coalition on policy. It's not like we're saying let's be in coalition on forming a government, forming a establishment. So I don't see the example you gave as the same thing as what we were talking about in this discussion. But furthermore, I think what I heard from you, Kamali, and what I heard from what some other people, what I'm hearing leftists say, not just Kamali, I'm saying everybody, what I'm hearing people say is the difference between solidarity, unity, and coalition. To me, they're not the same. So what I heard Kamali explain was I'm trying to see which one I think it is, but the point that I'm making is that I don't see coalition as the same thing as uniting, because uniting would be like what Kamali is saying. It's like we're being together for everything, no matter all the differences we have. Whereas a coalition is saying we're not together on everything. We're only together on these specific issues that we have an opposition to. You get what I'm saying? So if we're together on Medicare for all and we have an opposition, we're a coalition on Medicare for all because we have an opposition, right? To me, that's different than saying I'm joining up with you as a part of a Fred Hampton leftist and we're moving forward, or I'm joining up with you as a Democrat, a Democratic Party, and I'm moving forward. To me, that's different, and you see it because it creates tribalism when you say I'm just on this team and everything they do I'm for, and everything my opponent does I'm against. You get what I'm saying? So therein lies to me the difference between, or what I'm hearing everybody talk about. I'm hearing people describe unity, and then I'm hearing people describe coalitions, and they're talking as if they're not a difference. And that's what I'm hearing.
Can I add something? And then I want to pass it right back to Kamali, because I think this is just a very productive conversation. Once again, I think there's nothing wrong with just having straight up discourse like this. So what I want to add to this entire.
I'm so sorry, Nick. Can we please address this, because we get this comment a lot?
Yeah,
the Black Panthers worked with people who were racist. Nick, can you please?
Yeah. So we explained this, and we had a conversation with Jimmy Dore. I remember when we had Jimmy Dore on, there were a lot of people who mischaracterized that conversation. The people with Jimmy Dore derangement syndrome. So many people that didn't actually watch the interview, right? So JB actually put it very perfectly to Jimmy, where we explained how in order to work with the alliance that Black Panthers developed, you had to denounce racism. You had to be anti-racist. And this is the amazing work that the Black Panthers did, because not only did they was able to connect their class issues with these white people, they was like, okay, in order to form a coalition with us, in order to work with us, you got to denounce racism within your own community. So it is true that you had some racists that went and worked for the Black Panthers, but these people were former racists who denounced their previous association with racism. And that's what a lot of people get this confused on. So that's what we were trying to do. Because my whole thing was, I'm like, if you had a few bad takes in your past, I'm not trying to cancel that with you, as long as you denouncing racism now. That's what we want. That's how we win. That was their strategy. So it's inaccurate to say the Black Panthers work with racists, because in order to work with them, you had to denounce racism. And that is also shown by your actions in forming coalition with us.
Because can I add something?
Racist,
right.
Yeah, I want you in here, James.
Yeah,
racist,
so
you went
exactly.
Right? So go ahead, James.
Yeah. Now, according to the history as well, when that happened, when they denounced racism, some members of the Young Patriots left the Young Patriots organization because they did not want to denounce it. So it showed that they actually split in some ways. Just like also when the Rainbow Coalition was formed, some Black Panthers actually left the Black Panther organization as well, because they didn't want to be in coalition with anybody else. So the thing is that, it was about the denunciation of racism. And that's how they were able to actually come together. And remember, the word was Rainbow Coalition. It was never Rainbow Unity. It was never Rainbow Solidarity. It was Rainbow Coalition. So they were able to. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say Black people have to stop saying we're going to not work with racists, whether that's unpopular or not, because when we got here, The majority were racist. What would we be at if we didn't work with racists as a black community? Where? Like literally, even today, if you had to quit your job, if all the races were just unveiled and said, you know how many people would be quitting their job?
Yep.
You know how many people in the whole NFL would quit if it was you get what I'm saying? I'm not going to work with racists. It's so ridiculous because racists are human too. And I don't understand people who have that sentiment because I come from a church background where you try to convince people. You get what I'm saying? So you get in there like what Rome does and convert people like with Nick. Nick has stories of converting racists. Rome has stories of converting racists. So to me, I can't speak for everybody else, but if I would work with a racist to accomplish specific goals, yes. And if that bothers you, I don't know what to tell you because my ancestors did it too.
No.
Shoshana,
I'm going to speak now. Sorry. No. We do not work with racists. We work for racists. Our ancestors did not work with racists. They were enslaved by racists.
It's the same. To me, it's the same thing. To me, it's the same thing.
Racism to me is the worst. The racist to me is the scum of the existence. Okay? Because you know, all of us here know what is being a black child in this world. There are children in cages right now being isolated. I bring the cages because I have a friend that was a volunteer in that hellhole. The black children are double isolated because they're black. There are indigenous children that do not speak Spanish nor English. They will stay in a cage until they are 18. So no, I do not work with racists.
I do. I will work with racists anytime.
I work for them.
It's the same thing. You're playing semantics. It's the same thing.
No, I am not. Because
Absolutely
they will
the same
never.
thing.
Let me finish my
working on a
point.
slave plantation or working with the same thing. It's semantics.
Please, no.
Please.
Because they will never give me a seat on the table.
Never. What is that? That's irrelevant to this. That's irrelevant.
They will never tell me that we are working together.
Can I
they will always let me know that they are giving me an opportunity to work for them. And I'm going to go ahead and make the points that I wanted to make before. We are here for Jones because we are giving Jones a platform, not Warm Kyle, not freaking whatever he is, Kyle. We are giving a platform for a person that is a victim of the system, a person that was framed as an assassin and wrongfully and in an unjustful way accused of murder. Kyle is a product of the system, and he should be arrested only by traveling to a black protest with an assault rifle. Okay? Jamie Dore is doing what he was expected to do. He's a white male cis man. He will defend his equals. And that's my opinion. And I challenge him to change it because I'm not going to cancel him. I'm going to sit and hear him out. If he wants to, I don't think he will. We do not, in my opinion, as Black people, work with racists. They will never let us be the leaders, take the leader. They will never be allies. They will just make sure that we know who is the boss. And that's not working with. That's not making a coalition. That's not existing in solidarity. That's working for the boss, like our ancestors did. And what they do? And the first time, they ran away from them. They killed them. And they fought for the freedom. Zumbi dos Palmares, the biggest hero that we have in Brazilian history. Freed enslaved African people. He was the founder of small cities in Brazil, mostly my state. He freed us from the white racist man. He didn't shake the hands of the owner of the farm. He was not a slave catcher. He was a slave freer. There is a difference on that. And until nowadays, he's not recognized as the hero that he was. So what I hear what you're saying, because we do need numbers if we want to overthrow the government. As you know, CJ, is my goal to overthrow the empire. We do need numbers. But remember the letter that Martin Luther King wrote in jail. Watch out, as your biggest enemy is the white liberal. Because he will want to be, and I'm butchering it using my own words, he will want to be your manager. Yeah, thank you. Paraphrasing.
Can I add some context that I was trying to add quite a long time ago? But let me say this. Because this whole conversation and what we're about, we do bring up uncomfortable conversations about staying in solidarity with disenfranchised communities, and that is the litmus test for anyone that joins coalition with us. And I think everyone agrees with that. So when we form coalition with people, it's under the context of helping our communities, right? Now, the reason why so much of this dialogue, so much of this conversation, especially with a lot of people who take part of it, it throws me off, because it become a battle of accusing people of being racist sympathizers or anti-racist based on where they land on a certain case. But what I say, and the reason why I focus on the class issues, the reason why I focus on foreign policy, and the reason why I focus on state violence, because there are some people in the Rittenhouse case who are siding with us, meaning that they don't want to set this precedent where you can use violent force against protesters, right? But at the same time, these people support the Democratic Party. They support Joe Biden. They support the police state. So these people are protesting this white supremacist police state. So it doesn't matter where you land on this one issue. If you're not standing in solidarity with us when it comes to actually standing against our fascist police state, unlike the Democratic Party, they are currently running on increasing the police budgets. Terry McAuliffe, he didn't support ending qualified immunity, something that is supported by the vast majority of this country. So what get lost in this conversation with me is that you have a side who is not on our side, but postures who say, "Oh, I think Kyle Rittenhouse should be locked up," right? But then you support like stop and frisk, or you support increasing the police budgets, or you support Wall Street that stole our wealth, or you support Kamala Harris who supports civil asset forfeiture that stole our wealth. So people are already saying like, why it's about race? It's about no, race is class. And I would challenge anyone on this, because the prison industrial complex, as we know, it steals our wealth. 60% of the wealth that's stolen through civil asset forfeiture is Black families. Wall Street literally charges higher interest rates. So to talk about class without talking about race is ridiculous. And that is what people who claim they are anti-racist do when they support the Democratic Party. They say, "Oh, we are looking at your race and we claim we support you, but we're going to support the policies that destroy your community. Like we're going to continue to fund the military budgets while the military is poisoning your community." So what I'm trying to do when I have the conversation is connect all these issues together. So people say, "Oh, we got to make sure we're super hard on not supporting anyone who supports white supremacy." Okay, I agree with you. So why are we supporting Jim Crow Joe? Why are we supporting Terry McAuliffe? Why are we supporting Amy Klobuchar, who literally was complicit in not pressing charges on Derek Chauvin for the first time? You guys see how this conversation becomes unserious to me when I see people who are allies with the Democratic Party. When I see people who are allies, for example, once again, we are talking about the protests. The people, I don't like the precedent being set that you can have a paramilitary join the fascist police state in order to protect private property, because private property, the damage of private property is a valid form of protest, aka the Boston Tea Party, right? The Boston Tea spill, whatever that happened back in the day, like it's the private, like this is something that historically been proven true, right? So I don't like saying that precedent. That's just my stance on this issue. But if you want to pretend you're on my side, but you are going against the protesters, right? So once again, they say they support the protesters, but our ass is reining in this fascist police state. The people who are railing against Kyle Rittenhouse, they don't support that. So now let me walk this back to the original conversation. If your stance is don't support white supremacists no matter where they stand, why are you only talking about Republicans? Because my stance is Democrats are white supremacist racist too. So if you're logical that way, why
that is a good point. That is a good point.
So you are being inconsistent when you say.
I didn't think of
well, let me be clear. Like when you look at Josana and when you look at people that put the hard line in the sand, they're being principled because Josana didn't vote for Joe Biden.
Right.
Right. So there are a lot of people that say, "Yo, I have a hard line stance on white supremacy." Period. And then if you don't vote for Joe Biden, if you're not supporting the Democratic Party, that makes sense to me. But there are people that like, fuck Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm on your side. Hell yeah, Black Lives Matter. But, I don't think we should defund the police. I think we should keep funding the New York Police Department 3 times more than the North Korean military. How are you on my side? You're not. No. But Kamali, I'm going to get you in because like you want to say something.
Yeah, because I agree with you 100%. But the thing is that I don't think that like you said, nobody here is the ones that are doing that, right? Josana is principled in her stance. I am principled in my stance when I say I draw the hard line in the sand, like you said, and no, I don't accept any form of white supremacy. And so when in the same way that it is just posturing from the folks that support the Democratic Party, I see it as the same kind of posturing when you're willing to claim things like you are against the police state, you're against the police, but then you can turn around and not look at the moral bounds of this situation and look at this and come away with the analysis that one set of people were there, to literally the only people acting in self-defense was anyone there that was Black or one of our allies in Kenosha, Wisconsin, that was there to defend ourselves against a fascist police state. And so a white supremacist fascist police state. And so you can't say that you are on our side or that you're somehow with us and it's not be posturing if you will turn around and make the argument about self-defense based on some legal technicalities based on a white supremacist legal system. So you have to have the analysis, and I think I will bring the same smoke for anyone that is supportive of the Democratic Party as some sort of way out with their throwing the BLM tag on their profile and then turning around and supporting a white supremacist like Joe Biden. I have the same smoke for them that I have for anyone that is going to say that they're on our side, but then turn around and defend somebody like Kyle Rittenhouse and again distract from bigger important cases where you have especially folks with big platforms. The bigger your platform, the more angrier at you I'm going to be, because it's your responsibility to not lose sight of this. And so yeah, that's one thing, is just like I want us all to be consistent though, because I see a lot of people that are telling me I should be mad at Democrats and liberals but not be mad at the so-called leftists that are out here defending a white supremacist fascist who went to this place to kill Black people and our allies. He should have never been there. And the moment he stepped foot there, anything that fucking happened to him was his own damn fault. He had every choice, every decision, but we look at him like he's the little boy, just the foolish little boy, like Tulsi Gabbard called him, right? And it was Martin Luther King's daughter who tweeted out and said, Trayvon Martin was just walking to the goddamn store to grab a bag of Skittles, but he was doing so unarmed and unwhite. And we don't have the same kind of love and compassion for Trayvon Martin as a victim as we do for this murderer. Jimmy Dore, I'm sorry, I didn't want to bring it up, but like he literally was talking about how this dude was a good Samaritan and showing this video of like him cleaning up graffiti. What was the graffiti about? It's about fuck, the state, fuck these people that are attacking our people, so him cleaning up graffiti to point, he had a medic bag and he was out there helping people, is to run white supremacist propaganda. And we have to be, if if it makes people uncomfortable or they feel attacked by it, then they got to look at question yourself and what systems you're supporting and protecting. So I just want to say one other thing, which is that the safety in our spaces, man. I'm not about, I don't want to be framed as somebody like, oh, you're just a liberal and you're just talking about safe spaces or something like that. No, we do need safety in our spaces. People need to feel safe and feel like they can come into our spaces, or else we make our spaces unwelcoming to people that would otherwise really truly align with us, that really share all of our values and not just most of them. And if we make our space feel unsafe because we are not fighting against fascism, and we are not, it's not enough to just be not racist, you have to be anti-racist. It's not enough to just be not fascist, you have to be anti-fascist. And it was actually awkward. One friend of the show, friend of FHL, who tweeted out and said, he's an abolitionist, Nick works, has worked closely with him. And he tweeted out and he said, as an abolitionist, I believe anyone can be transformed. As an anti-fascist, I'm not working with a Proud Boy or a Boogaloo Boy until I'm confident about that transformation. So the idea that we have to work with racists or that we have to work with them, I don't think we do have to work with them. I think that we can work and we can happen, like you said, we can happen to be in coalition with them in a sense, not in the sense of, oh, we're gonna even bring them into our spaces and work in that way. But if they are principled, if they really do believe in an issue like Medicare for all, right? Then without us having to do anything, if they really believe in it, if they are principled on that, then just the fact that some Black people happen to be working on it won't deter them. They will naturally go out there and do the work to work on that, to move it in the spaces that they happen to be in. So they can convince the other racists, they can convince the other people like themselves that they also need Medicare for all, and let them do that work and let us do the work over here. Because what I fear is that I saw people responding. We had people that were saying, listen, I won't even start naming names, but somebody saying, shut the fuck up about this, Kyle Rittenhouse thing. It's just a distraction. It's being used to divide us. You should be focused on this thing that I care about over here. And the problem with that is that I saw Black people responding and saying, see, this is why I don't think as a Black person that we can build a working class coalition, because I don't feel safe in that space that you're creating there, because I feel like you're too comfortable with racism that you're going to let that shit go. And we deal with racism. Black people deal with racism too much, too often, everywhere we go, every single, moment of every day in this capitalist system. We got to deal with it. So when we finally get over to these leftist spaces, it's like, I should have pulled up. Muhammad Ali had a great quote, right? And I'll end here. I'll stop here. But he was on a thing. He was in an interview and he talked about how he said, you know what? And he was talking about it in the sense of white people, right? But I would make the same argument for the sake of leftists, right? So this is his response essentially to the idea, not all white people, right? And this is the same thing that I'm going to think that people are going to say, not all leftists. Well, not all leftists are okay with fascism or are going to accept fascism. He said, if I see 10,000 rattlesnakes coming down the hill towards me, and I got a door here that I can shut to stop them. He said, but you tell me that 1,000 of those rattlesnakes in that group of 10,000, they're good, they're well-meaning, they want what's best for me. Am I going to sit there and wait for those rattlesnakes to get to the door, hoping that 1,000 of them will get together and form a human shield for me? Or should I just close the motherfucking door? And that's what's going to happen. And a lot of Black people that would otherwise come to our side are just going to close the door on leftism because they don't know which one of the 1,000 leftists, they don't know which one of those 10,000 leftists are anti-fascist enough for them, are anti-white supremacy enough for them. So we got to all be that so that we can gain their trust, so that we can bring those people over to our side. And we do have to make a decision. There is no wide enough tent. We got to pick and choose at some point. We're going to have to pick and choose. Not everybody feels comfortable working with a fascist or working with somebody that is okay with defending a fascist. So we got to choose who we want in our spaces. And that's, I'll just end there.
Sabrina's next. Go ahead, Sabrina.
Yeah. I just, there's something I was just thinking about a while back, and JB remembers this. I wish Afeni was here too, because Afeni remembers this too, but there was a guy I brought on the show. He was a part of a Black group and had really good things to say. And so I was excited about it. I was like, come on in. Like, you want to like train people how to use like different types of machine equipment, basically create a self-sustaining like society, but amongst Black people. And he had like this whole plan and everything. I was like, this is really good. Then later on in the conversation, I realized that me, Kamali, JB, and if Afeni was here, none of us would be able to be a part of that group because it was so specific. They didn't want, you couldn't be gay. you couldn't be, I think both your parents had to be black. So you see what I'm saying? So the point that I'm trying to make here is, again, I think that, and Kamali, I love the passion, I love the fire, but again, I feel like we all need to have this passion for Julius Jones. This is the problem, the thing that is really pissing me off. Not you per se, Kamali, but it's just that I sat there and I watched mainstream media and I watched Twitter get everybody riled up to the point where people, like I said, people who were friends for years cut each other off and said, that's it, I'm not talking to you anymore. So where was that same passion and fire for the innocent black man who was going to be executed today? This is the point I'm trying to make. We have to keep our eye on the ball. I'll be damned. I'm not losing any friends over Kyle Rittenhouse. I am focusing on the fact that had it not been for the people who rose up today, Julius Jones would have been killed today. That is what we need to come. We need to come together over things like that. We know the criminal justice system is screwed. We know it's fucked. I knew Kyle Rittenhouse was going to get off. I know there's no verdict yet. I knew he was going to get off before this trial even started. So I'm not going to sit here and kid myself and pretend like I thought something good was going to happen. I think we need to be real here. Like, I'm sorry, but when we say, if you say that, you know,
real quick though, Sabrina, just to, I don't want to cut you off, but real quick, why should we believe it? Real quick, Sabrina, but just so that
let's let me finish.
I need you to answer this question, Sabrina.
That you should not work with white people. What I'm trying to tell you is that
I do not say that you should not work with white people. My mother's white. Like, why would I say you can't work with white people? Listen, Sabrina, I just got a question. Why should we then believe?
Wait a minute.
I just want to cut in and ask you a question, please.
I wasn't finished. You can ask the question when I finish, Kamali. Seriously, I think we all need to calm down here. The point that I'm trying to make is some of these spaces, and it happened on this show, some of these spaces would not want us in it. So who
I've been kicked out of them.
Work with.
I've never been invited into Jimmy Dore's fucking space because I don't agree with everything the motherfucker has to say.
You don't have to.
Let's just recognize the super chat.
Calm down, shit. It's like I didn't think we did.
Hold up. What we are not going to do, we are not going to be in community and talk to each other like we lost our goddamn mind. I had to meet you guys because I'm all for this discussion. This is the kind of conversation I want to promote. But guys, be respectful. Like, stop talking over each other and give people grace. Stop performing here. Like, let people talk. Okay.
Does anything that I do sound like I'm performing? I literally tried to cut it and just ask the question so that she could please
we don't have to interrupt
expound upon her point.
I'm just saying communicate. Like, there's no need to interrupt people. That's all I'm saying. Like interrupting people, all that stuff is not helping. So
let's take a breath here. Let's just take a breath here. Take a breath here, please, and just settle the conversation. It's good that our audience sees how FHL discusses things really. You know what I mean? So it's good that they see this. I must say this. I was one of the first comments in this discussion, and the comment I made had nothing to do with Jimmy Dore. I didn't know it was going to lead about this way. I wasn't commenting on Jimmy Dore. I was commenting on working with races, and then however it evolved. So I just need to make that clear. I think I was one of the last comments that didn't involve Jimmy Dore, and I wanted to make that clear. But I also wanted to take the time to kind of settle things down. I'll give it back to Sabrina, who was speaking.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Sabrina.
I want to make that clear too. Like, I'm not like, when I say people who are friends that decided to cancel each other, that's not including Jimmy Dore. I'm talking about people who are not commentators, who are not podcasters, ending friendships over this. That is what I'm talking about. This is not just about one personality. This is about people getting all riled up over the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. And I've seen this happen before. And so my whole thing, the point that I'm trying to make is this, and I'll be a little bit calmer as well. What we have to come to realize is that there are some groups that even though we are Black, we are not allowed to be a part of those groups because either who we are married to, what our kids look like, what our sexuality is. So the thing that I'm trying to ask here is, how exclusionary are we trying to be? And I think we need to be clear about that. And again, I want to bring the focus back to Julius Jones, because I don't see enough people on the left on platforms right now having this same fire and passion for the innocent Black man who was about to be killed. That is the problem that I have. And I think there's been too much focus on Kyle Rittenhouse this, Kyle Rittenhouse that. And until today, nobody was talking about Julius Jones.
Sabrina, I think what you're pointing out is what I've said throughout this stream, is that people are conditioned, and leftists don't think they're conditioned, but they are. And this kind of illustrates that, because you have a story that is significantly more urgent. But people, and in this case, we're talking about leftists, still compete in that conditioned tribalism. You get what I'm saying? So, now let me connect it. What I mean is they're competing in conditioned tribalism, because the story about the Black guy, there's not really a lot of tribalism that can take place in that story. That's why it doesn't create a lot of talk, because we've been conditioned to gravitate the things that create conflict. This Rittenhouse story creates conflict, and he rubs up emotion. And this is what I mean. Americans are conditioned to gravitate that. You have to consciously stop yourself from doing that, saying, no, that's controversial, scandalous, but this has information. It's boring, but this is the one I'm going to go with. You know what I'm saying? It has to be cognitive decision making. I'll pass it back.
Yeah, someone said in the chat, was FHL covering Julius Jones before today? I covered it last night. And that's how I found out that most of the people in the chat did not know about it. So I thought it was important for people to know, to try to save this man's life. Kyle Rittenhouse is not going to be sentenced to death, you guys.
At all.
What the fuck are we fighting over him for?
Uh-huh.
Come on.
Or for a result that we all know, Sabrina, what's going to, like, Black people, you can ask every Black person in the United States what's going to happen to the Kyle Rittenhouse case 2 months ago, and we could have told you what was going to happen. Let's bring in Kamali. Did you have any? I know you were itching to get in, but you calm down a little bit. So go ahead, Kamali.
Yeah, I haven't watched a second of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial because I don't give a fuck to spend a moment of my life watching that. We all knew, like you all said, we all knew exactly how it was going to turn out. There was never a doubt about it. I didn't spend a second watching it because I don't waste my time on that kind of bullshit. So the issue with the Rittenhouse situation is not to talk about the trial and the technicalities of a deeply unjust white supremacist system. It's to talk about a much larger overarching issue of white supremacy. And I would the question that I was trying to ask Sabrina in the moment was literally just to chime in to just say, why, if we don't believe that we have any control over this case with this white supremacist legal system, and we have no control over this case in the outcome of this case, why should we feel like us talking about it has any ability to affect the other case, the Julius Jones case? Why should we believe it's the same system? They're both operating under the exact same white supremacist system. So why is it that and when you tell people, no, don't pay attention to this one, that's just a distraction because people that I see happen to be fighting about it, what it does is it just creates a situation where people get angry because it feels like you're telling them what you care about, that's not important. It's only what I care about.
That's why I think
I get that. That's a valid point. I get that.
I'm not telling people not to pay attention to it. What I'm saying is that when we talk about like the criminal justice system and white supremacy, when you say we don't have control over the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, you're right. We don't have control over it. But you know what we did have control over today? Had it not been for all those people who protested, all those people who staged, the kids walked out of the schools, all those people who called the governor, I called the governor today, they said they had mass call volumes. That is why we put pressure on the government to get him to not execute the guy. So if it had not been for the pressure of the people, Governor Stitt would have let him die. That is what I'm trying to say. That is something that we did. So with the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, If people want to organize, come up with something to put pressure, I would not say, no, you should not be able to do that. But what I am saying is canceling your friends, cutting off your friends, people you've known for years because you disagreed on the situation, that does not give us a solution. That does not make things better. And my thing is to educate people and have the conversation with them instead of saying, I don't want to deal with you. I'll wash my hands of you, because we get nowhere like that.
Yeah, I agree. In planning this General Strike Summit, I tweeted it out. I discovered that a lot of leftists don't get along, which is astonishing. And I said in that same tweet, I said, we still don't understand community. So I just want to make clear, I'm no longer talking about Jimmy Dore or racists. I'm just talking about leftists in community arguing over different things. In this case, they're arguing over the Rittenhouse case. In other cases, they argued over forced to vote. In other cases, they argue over other items. So you get my point. JB, I saw you lean in.
Can we
Did
get
you have
Sana and JB in here? I want to make sure everyone gets some time to speak too. So we doing a little longer. You guys want to do another 15 minutes? I think we can wrap up.
Whenever, yeah. JB, if you wanted to chime in, I know it's been a while. An important
conversation. Like it feels uncomfortable, doesn't it, guys? You guys feel that? You guys feel
it
that?
Has to be. It has to be. It has to be.
I saw some people in the chat like, "What's going on?" Like, guys, this is reality.
I just want to address this really quick, where it says Sabby and Nick are real quiet about Kyle because it's bad for brand. No, I did a stream about Kyle Rittenhouse on this channel 2 weeks ago, and I was very vocal about how I felt about Kyle Rittenhouse. So no.
Yeah, I thought I was pretty clear on this. Like,
I don't. Let me say about that comment that it's bad for brand. Like, I feel like you haven't been watching FHL if you think they make decisions based off of brand. Like, I feel like you have.
Do you think FHL would have me on if they were thinking about brand?
Right. I mean, it's like not right to that. I'm just meaning like we're not. That's not at all part of our thought process. I told you guys
I'm built different, guys. I sold cars in Kansas. You guys think that this is gonna shake me up? So like, there's things that you agree with people you like, and things you don't agree with.
Right.
Like, I'm friends with Dore. I like Jimmy. I think he's a good guy. I think he approached this issue in good faith. And when I saw his interpretation of this, he was kind of focused on the media lies. But my thing is, I have been so focused on the General Strike Summit and organizing that, and also in order to be someone who was the main host of the General Strike Summit. Do you guys know how much fucking research I've done on the history of labor? Like the General Strike Summit took so much of my time. And then also I was holding the International Leftist Coalition. So I was reading about other countries. Like I was debunking CIA talking points. Guys, do you know how busy I was? I didn't have time for the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Like once again, I'm like, bro, it's getting a lot of traction. A lot of people talking about it. Like I feel like my take is not going to be the one that make or break this motherfucker. So I'm like, I'm busy with other stuff. But my position is like, bro, you guys know how I stand on the system as a whole. So as a system, when I see the police being complicit with Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't like that. When I see the paramilitary being teaming up with the cops, I don't like that. I don't like the precedent that is set that you can have a group of people that counter protest a group because they want to protect private property, when once again private property is a valid form of protest. So once again, I'm coming from a leftist point of view, and then you have some people who want to debate law. I'm like, bro, I'm not a lawyer. I'm telling you, from my leftist point of view how I view the case. I don't like the precedent that's been set that the cops can team up with paramilitaries and you can go counter protest. That's my position. So, and also as a citizen journalist, I can have disagreements with people and still have dialogue with them. That's what I'd rather do. So in some situations, I not agree with Jimmy Dore and everything, but I'm also not gonna fall for the trap of you guys think I'm his postman. Like, you know how people I had on my show, you know how many shows I've been on? Like pretty much people be like, hey, Social MA, you want to join my show? I was like, yo, that sounds fun. And then all of a sudden you see me on Lee Camp. And then all of a sudden you see me on the Vanguard, or you see me on this show or that show. I'm on a lot of different shows. So I'm not letting people trying to track me like, yo, Jimmy Dore said this. You want to make a statement about what Jimmy Dore said? Like, bitch, I'm not Jimmy Dore's manager. Like, I'm not falling for that, guys. So you guys know where we have our disagreements with. And if Jimmy is not going to cancel me for having disagreements on him, like, why are you guys trying to look for drama, right? And I'm 30. I don't got time for this. I don't got time for like this cop-like behavior, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people that have been asking me my take on this, and that's my take. I disagree with Jimmy on this issue because what I explained to you as a leftist principle. I don't think private property is worth killing people over. I don't think you being a paramilitary teaming with the faction police state that we speak against, and you join their side in order to dole our protest. I don't like that precedent. And to be honest with you guys, I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I don't know if I can argue against U.S. law because I don't agree with U.S. law. I think U.S. law is capitalist, imperialist garbage. So I can't debate you guys on that. If you guys say, well, Nick, the law say this, the law say that, I'm like, yeah, it probably does. I don't like the law of this country. So I'm too far left for this conversation.
There goes Aaron. What's up, Aaron?
Yeah.
There goes Aaron fight.
I'll pass it to you guys. So anyone else want to chime in on that?
I think JB and Josana were next, I think.
Josana, you go first. You go ahead.
No, JB, you go, please.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm also on the show too. So, look, here's the thing. Okay, so we have to have kind of a painstaking approach when it comes to people voicing their views. Now, I'm a believer of trying to move people to your position by speaking with them. I also do believe in restorative justice. I made a huge mistake a couple months back. I made a vote for this guy to be out. I made that mistake. But people decided to use restorative justice for me and say, you know what, JB, you made a mistake. We had conversations. We're good. I think that we need to apply this to other people who may have a majority, especially a majority of disagreements with us. I mean, a majority of agreements with us, I'm sorry. And so because of that, if we're on the left and we truly believe in restorative justice, then conversations have to happen. And these conversations are going to be uncomfortable, but they are necessary in order for us to get a perspective of what things mean to other people. I know what it's like to be Black in America. Some people don't. And so they haven't been able to get that experience, and they're just now being privy to this information by watching us. And so they're not going to be at the same position we are. But the point is to try to help move them over to our position. Is it going to happen every single time? No. But you can't blame us for trying though, right? And so I can voice my, opinions. Yeah, he shouldn't have been there. Yeah, he's acting like a police officer, and yeah, fuck the police, whatever. He should have been there. But at the same time, people aren't where we are. And so sometimes we also have to be ones who say, you know what? You're not quite where I am at. Let me give you the logic of why I think the way I think. Just so that, So that's one of the reasons why I take it from a position of, okay, I disagree. Please, let's discuss why we disagree. And let's get the logic and facts of why I think you're incorrect on this. And I think that's something that we cannot lose sight of our real enemy. The real enemy is capitalism. That has been the primary enemy since its inception. And so because of that, we don't want to lose our focus on the real enemy, because that is an enemy that continues to keep dividing us. And that's really all I got to say. So,
Josana.
Hi.
Hi, Josana.
Hello. Hey, JB. I get really fired up by racism, as you guys could see. As a person, as one unity, I have to say, And go back to my first point I made in this panel. If you are white and hearing me talk about racism, hearing me talking about white supremacy is making you uncomfortable, nice. Work on yourself and take the roots of it out of your blood so then you can be an ally. Because my vision is the problem in the world and what is holding the empire together is white supremacy. And the need and the wanting to be and is in us, Black people too. It subdivides us too. How many times, as Sabi brought up, how many times I heard, you cannot be Black because you're Brazilian. From Black activists. So it's in us too. We have to do the washing every day. It's something that is ingrained in society from many, many years.
Yeah.
It's not like just in the blink of an eye that we're going to get rid of it. But in my humble opinion, white supremacy is the problem of the world. Capitalism, imperialism, hunger, everything else is the arms and legs of the white supremacist empire. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there is not. And I always make this point. There is a guy, I'm not going to even respond to that. Sorry. It's just so silly. Go read some theory. There is a guy that is in the comments and he's like, oh my God, did Josanna say white supremacy? How many times today? Like it's
It's everywhere. That's why she says it all the time, because it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So like I will call it out, because when I call it out, it's not to point my fingers at nobody. It's to hear that in my own mind. I was talking to a friend today and I was like, Sato, I'm sorry, but whenever I'm telling you stuff, is that I can hear out loud so my soul can listen to it and wake up. And don't let my ego get in front of it. Because capitalism, one of the arms and legs of white supremacy, is the philosophy of the ego. Is when I look to to the next person close to me and I feel better or worse than them. I compare myself. Is when I want to win. Is when I want to get there by myself. So those are layers and layers, and all these onions. Human being onions have way more layers than onions itself. So, and this is skin that we have to shed. There is a video of a puss moth that I watched that video. For some reason, I turned on YouTube and came up out of the blue. I'm really fascinated by butterflies. And I watched the video. And if you see how many times the caterpillar had to shed skin before even getting to the cocoon. How many times that caterpillar had to like stop, shed skin, eat, walk, stop, shed, many times to even get to the cocoon. I'm not even talking about the butterfly yet. So it's going to be presumptuous or silly to think that we are going to like wake up tomorrow, washed away from white supremacy, capitalism is gone. This is Hollywood propaganda. There's no such a thing as no inner work and getting to the goal.
Well, I want to say, I just want to address this one real quick. I'm glad someone already put it up there. I was about to address this because we won't be intimidated from talking about race. Now, the question I want to pose to you is, why does talking about race make people uncomfortable? The people who claim to be our allies, right? So what is critical race theory? Critical race theory is literally critically thinking about race. It's literally in the name. That's what it is. Looking at class, looking at historical structures and how that affects Black families and race and how that intersects with other communities. What? Oh my God, so terrifying, right? So if talking about this makes you uncomfortable, that means you will quickly abandon me in my struggle. And this is what happened to socialist movements in the 40s, where you had FDR and you had the white socialists who had an open debate on whether they should include Negro families in their policies. And guess who won that debate? The white left did. So you guys want us to stop talking about this? How does that make sense if we are advocating for our community? So this is us holding you guys accountable. I know you guys hear a lot of stuff from a lot of white leftist channels where you're like, oh, we can't talk about race because we got to help the Democratic Party win. That is not my objective. I don't care. I will advocate for my community, and if I make you uncomfortable, that means when it means the most, when the revolution is at its most pressing, you will abandon us.
When it's most uncomfortable.
Yep. So it's easy to say, oh, I want Medicare for all because you benefit from Medicare for all. It's easy to say, I want to cancel student loan debt because you benefit from that. But if I say I want to abolish the police that is literally siphoning wealth from my community, you will abandon us on that fight. So by us talking about race and you pulling back, you are showing your hand before it's too late. So we are weeding out the bad allies. So I'm more than happy with that. Once again, we're not in it for the subscribers. We're in it for the community. Hopefully that cleared that up. Anyone else got anything to say before we wrap up?
We do got to wrap up. So if you have anything, JB, can we get the JB lean just to end the stream? Sabrina, Kamali, anything before we go around the table to do shout outs?
Well, just one thing. Always stand with the oppressed. That's all I got to say.
Oh, jeez.
Some great last words.
Thank you for everyone for watching. You guys see we do things a little different here. These are raw conversations. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is like how me having conversations with my family back in the day. So that's how it is for me.
As a channel, let's do it. What do we have coming up as a channel instead of going individually so we can get done? What's happening tomorrow? What's happening Saturday? What's happening Sunday as far as scheduling so people know? Tomorrow,
I got International Leftist Coalition on Tuesday. Other than that,
Friday, are you streaming Sabrina tomorrow?
Yeah, Sabby show here at 6 p.m. tomorrow, and then 8 p.m. on my channel.
Awesome. And then Saturday, anything Saturday? Anybody gonna throw up some streams?
Yeah, we can throw something. We can throw something together.
We'll throw something up on. And then Sunday, JB, what do you have?
I will be discussing propaganda with a friend of mine, Mike Moresi. We'll be talking about that. And then I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to have on the JB show next week, but hey,
you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. But by the way, I'm sorry. I just wanted to give a shout out to Alexandra M. And thank you so much for the tip on Rockfin. Thank you so much to everybody on Rockfin for watching.
Absolutely. And then we will be cutting up because I get the question, Nick, you probably got it. Are we going to be cutting up more episodes of the General Strike Summit? Yes, because people want to see them in their, just the 1 hour segments. We will be doing that slowly. More clips will be coming out.
There's one video I released today. I don't want to bombard you guys, so I'm trying to release like about 2 or 3 hours of content from the General Strike Summit probably today. So I released a 2 hour content today. I might we to get some more episodes up tomorrow. So that's coming. So that's coming soon too. So
that's coming. I think that's all of our outstanding things. Like this, share this video. The only way we do what we do is because of you. Everyone else is working against us. The algorithm, all the social media platforms. So share, like this. If you're able to support us on Patreon, not Ko-fi right now, not until we've changed over our accounts for Ko-fi. So right now, just Patreon. If you're able to contribute, and
I love that y'all call it Ko-fi here. It's definitely coffee. Like the
what did I say?
The logo is a mug. Like it's coffee, y'all. It's buy somebody a coffee, But all of y'all say Ko-fi.
I didn't know that.
Everybody here says Kofi, and
because of the dash. That's like why I thought it was Kofi. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just go to Patreon and contribute. Anything Nick, anything Sabrina, anything Josana that before we sign off.
I'll say what I want to say. K Mali. K Mali.
K Mali.
Take care, fam.